Hey everybody, this is Brad from Apex Live. Episode 13 of the podcast has been heavily edited for content. The full unedited version of the episode is only going to be made available by request, and not every request will be granted. If you'd like to hear the full, unedited, and uncensored version, send us an email at apexlivepodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's episode 13. I've got a good feeling about this. It's cool, it's clear, and it's calm in the Mountain State, unlike the rest of my life. And ironically, it's episode 13 of Apex Live. I'm Brad. Steve is on assignment. He'll be here for the second half of the show. Setting in with us tonight, special guest host, founding member of Apex Combat from all those years ago. All-around good dude and a member of the inner circle, Jake Morris. Jake, welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
This has been a long time coming. You've been needing a platform. And boy, do you have one now. Hope everyone's ready for whatever this is going to turn into. We're going to talk about why we've been on a hiatus for the last month and a half. Just a little bit. Just the tip, just to see how it feels. Going to talk the 2018 West Virginia football season. A little bit of a preview, because that is getting closer and closer by the day. And I can't wait to go kick the crap out of Tennessee. Tell some stories from Section 103. And deal with whatever comes up, because I really don't know what it's going to be. Too much psychosis. But in any event, it is episode 13 of the show. Wherever and however and whenever you're listening. Thanks for joining us. Should be fun. Intro music as usual, End of Summer by the 126ers, copyright free so we don't get sued. Of course, I don't care. Sue us. What are you going to get? We're poor. Well, it's the truth. Jake, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, not too bad, man.
What's going on? Anything I need to know about? You had to drive in from Parkersburg, and return to the great Beckley metropolitan area. Like, people need to know where we're broadcasting from, but who cares? But you had to travel in for that, and I know you always see interesting things whenever you come back to the old homestead.
Yeah, I mean, you drive in 2.5 hours, you're not too far away, and pull into the Great Sheets, and you get out, and there's 3 homeless people hammered off their ass at 5:15, and kind of wonder where you're going with your life. But then you see them buying about 20 bootleggers, and you think, hey, at least I'm not buying that shit.
Well, fair point. But, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but it's 5:15 in Beckley.
Yeah, you can drink the cheap shit when you don't have to wake up until about 3 o'clock the next day.
Man, that's a good point. I hadn't quite thought of it that way, because no matter what, the homeless really don't, for all the challenges that they have, and they do have challenges, the homeless really don't have that schedule crunch.
No, they don't. They get 2 o'clock bum, 4 o'clock bum some more.
I've never in my life, not once, Jake, ever seen a homeless person with a day planner.
You should see the homeless we have up in Parkersburg. They've got their little area right in front of the toll bridge.
Okay.
One guy's got a lawn chair. I mean, if you're going to bum and you want me to give you money, at least get up and don't be smoking a cigarette in your lawn chair.
Where did he get the lawn chair?
From the 25 cents every other car's giving him as they drive by.
Well, you can't eat the lawn chair. Can you? Oh, I suppose you could if he suffers from pica. Which, I mean, what worse way to get your life wrecked than to be homeless and have pica? Although it does kind of cut down the necessity of the food budget. You don't have to eat the burger; you can just eat the wrapper.
Yeah,
and that's more fiber. That's good for your diet, right?
Some aspects that you do have to admire the guy, because he's willing to sit there in his lawn chair and has the balls to ask you for money. I mean,
yeah, and he looks like he's got a way better life than you do at that point. That is a great idea. I'm going to sit in my chair and I'm going to demand money. That's what I'm going to do. And that's the best part of this too, is that because of the super left-leaning culture that we have now, in so many ways, he can sit in his chair, do nothing, ask for money, but really it's kind of more than that. It's almost extortion at that point because they're trying to make you feel like you have to. And because of our culture, if you don't give him the money, now you're the asshole.
Right, you're the asshole, and we've got this federal job mandate that's being pushed out there, so he's actually got a job. He just can't get fired for it because it's mandated that they can be hired. Okay, I'm off of that rant.
No, go as far as you want, because you're absolutely correct, and this is why I am becoming progressively more libertarian by the day. I want these idiots out of my life as much as they can be.
Did you ever see the episode of Al Bundy's show, Married with Children?
So good.
And they come up to Bud and, what's his sister's name?
Kelly.
And they tell him that they can go make money panhandling, and Bud comes back with like 25 cents, and Kelly's got $100. That's great.
That's about right. I'll tell you the other way to do it, too. Here's how the most successful panhandlers, I guess that's the politically correct term for bum. Of course, when I think bum, I think boxing, and I think of people from Cincinnati who refuse to run.
Right.
Because Mike Davis ain't running.
Right. We're 1-24, but we ain't running.
He ain't running. He don't like to run. We'll deal with that during the ambush later.
He got dogged, by the way.
He did. They dogged us, man. They dogged us.
You think, is it a 1-12? I guess we've done a study now. It's not 1-24. At what point do you just realize that you suck?
Yeah. After
Is it 30 losses? Is it 40?
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Do you feel worse for being one of the 30 or one of the 1? Because you went in and decided, you know what, I got this. And you didn't. That guy was 12-24 whenever Davis beat him.
I was going to say, I guess it depends on when he got the 1. Was he 1-3 or was he...
No. He was probably 25 fights in.
Yeah, so definitely.
When he got it.
Definitely being the 1.
So if you're James Morrow, who I just completely called out publicly, but... Dude, you lost to Mike Davis.
You lost to Mike Davis.
I'm not even worried about what you're going to do to me because you lost to Mike Davis.
Lost to Mike Davis.
So you lost to Mike Davis. Mike's not running, so obviously you're not running if you lost to Mike. So really all I've got to do is break into a little bit of a jog.
I kind of respect Mike, though, because he's still fighting.
Yeah, well, Mike needs the money, and he's not going to blow the money on weird things like going to the dentist. So,
or a treadmill.
Oh, God, no. No. The world is his treadmill, and he's not going out into that either. That's why he's going to fight for 12 minutes, get $600, and go the hell home. Well, I didn't expect to be talking about Mike Davis this early. Hey, Jake, do you know how much the human heart weighs? You're a very smart man.
I do not.
You're very educated. You've got your education in engineering, which is not easy to do, obviously. But, you've had to study the sciences. You don't know how much it weighs?
I do not.
24 pounds. People are surprised by that. You know how I know it weighs 24 pounds? That's how much I lost in about 12 or 13 days when I had mine unceremoniously ripped out.
Ooh.
Yeah, doesn't that suck? That's what happens when you don't eat for 9 days. So that should tell you a little bit of why we've been on a hiatus for the last few weeks. It's because the last 7 weeks of my life have basically just been an utter living hell. And I'm not too happy about it. We end every episode of this podcast the same way, and we remind people that betrayal never comes from your enemies. Watch your 6. That's never been more true than it is right now. The bitter irony is that when you get stabbed in the back, 99% of the time, you're the one who handed them the knife. That's just kind of been on my mind for the last 7 weeks, and that's why we haven't done any podcasts. But you know what? We're back now, and that's what we're going to deal with tonight. Briefly, I think I just did. I think I got out what I needed to get out, because I really don't want to get sued for defamation of character. Well, it's the truth. Let's handle a little business. If you're listening through a podcast management app like Podcast Addict, thank you. Be sure to subscribe with the RSS feed. It helps you. It helps us. Keep doing it all you want, and you'll get every episode, every highlight, everything that we produce. Otherwise, you're probably listening through the website, apexlive.fireside.fm. You've got every episode. You've got the highlights. You've got resources, host bios, guest bios, everything you need related to the podcast you can find at the website. And now, if you want to be able to support the website, you can do that by going there. There's a link up at the top in the menu bar that says Amazon. Click on that link. There's an Amazon banner. If you click on that banner and go through to Amazon, buy whatever you want, we get commission from that. We get commission from everything you buy. That money will go to improve the podcast. It's not going to make me any more mentally stable, or Steve, or Dave, or Jake for that matter, but it will buy us new stuff so we can upgrade the microphones. We can get what we need to have a portable studio and do more shows in different places. All of those types of things. Social media, not hard to find us. Go to Facebook. It's Apex Live Podcast. The Twitter, we're done with that. I'm pretty well done with Twitter because of, well, we're just not going to get into that. And did some Instagram stuff. Really not too keen on that either right now. So just stick to the Facebook because we can control who's there and we can block people that we don't like.
There you go.
Check that out. And of course, our favorite method of communication is email. You can send us thoughts, comments, questions, hate mail. Boy, do we get a lot of that. We get plenty of hate mail. You can send us that. You can send us audio commentary. We really do enjoy when you send us audio commentary. We'll play that on the show and respond to it in kind. Send us guest suggestions. If you want to be a guest, you can find us there. It's easy. apexlivepodcast@gmail.com. And other than that, just keep listening. Send us feedback, and we'll do everything we can to entertain you, enlighten you, and probably at some point infuriate you. Jake, we're getting close to football season.
Almost there.
It is almost time for West Virginia football. It is the solace of my life. I wait 8 or 9 months just to get to 12 weekends, 12 Saturdays, for us to go do a combination of things. Number one, make me extremely happy. Number two, kick me in the face with a golf shoe.
You going to get to go to Charlotte?
That was in the works. I was going to go to Charlotte for that game. It looked like I was going to go take somebody with me. That's not going to happen now. So now I'm kind of replanning, reworking some things to see if I can make it down there. I really want to go because I think Tennessee's in huge trouble going into that game.
I think fan bases can be judged in this online era by how many fans they have that type in all caps and halfway makes sense.
Yes, of course.
Tennessee's got a lot of those people.
Are any of the words spelled correctly?
Maybe 6.
Okay, that seems right. Out of a 300-word post? Yeah, that's about right.
But they are going to kick your ass.
Oh, are they?
That's in every post.
I didn't realize T. Martin was still playing. It was 1998.
The Vol Bandit apparently is a guy that goes around and takes pictures with the Tennessee flag at other team stadiums. He takes this picture and
I'm impressed.
His guts hanging out from under his shirt. It's a pretty good picture.
So, he's a bandit. So I'm guessing he's stealing food?
I don't know.
Probably just robbing the convenience store blind of all of their Slim Jims and 11-year-old hot dogs.
And it's been an experience, I would say, unlike anything we've had but definitely since the Georgia game. I mean, it's very similar. The only difference is Georgia won the SEC in 2006, 2005. Tennessee went 4-8 last year, and they lost to Vanderbilt. So
did they win a game in conference last year?
They did not.
I thought
they had to win one. They won. They probably beat Kentucky.
They beat Kentucky. They always beat Kentucky. Yeah, they beat Kentucky every year. Well, I don't know. No, it's Florida that never loses to Kentucky.
Yeah, Florida hadn't lost to Kentucky in like 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much everybody.
That's true. So, obviously...
They beat somebody.
They had to have. But obviously it wasn't that important because no one cares what they do. They had Butch Jones as their coach, for God's sake.
So, I mean, as far as coming off 4-8 season teams go, this has got to be the cockiest bunch of idiots.
Well, you know why? Because they're among that group of people who their only means of trying to be productive in the football world when they're that irrelevant is to walk into any venue and start chanting SEC. Well, you haven't done anything. You've not done anything. There was a point where we were just habitually beating an SEC team every year out of conference. Right. That's what we did. We beat Georgia, then we beat Mississippi State 2 years in a row, then we beat Auburn. It kept happening. I'm not impressed by your conference affiliation at all.
Don't get me wrong. Tennessee's got great history. Big-time program.
100,000 people every game.
Pre-Peyton Manning. The last 10 years, I don't know what they've really done. The last 3, I know what they haven't done.
Win? Ever? Score points?
I don't know. It's going to be a fun environment.
It will, and I fully expect them to have a huge turnout.
And they will. They're speaking of Kentucky, they're a lot like Kentucky basketball in that the standard fan can't really get into Neyland Stadium, so it's a close-to-home game, and you're going to see the real East Tennessee rednecks show up in Charlotte, I believe.
That's a good point. It's worth going just for the sideshow.
I mean, if you remember,
hadn't really thought about
you remember
that.
when Kentucky went to the NIT and lost to Robert Morris? I'll never forget it. I lived in Kentucky for 3 years.
Oh yeah,
but that was the game that the Hilljacks showed up, packed the stadium because the season ticket holders weren't going to that shit.
Well, of course not. Why would they? Why would you board the Titanic after it hit the iceberg? That really doesn't make much sense.
Similar to the type of Tennessee fan I'd say will be coming to Charlotte.
I'm looking forward. I'm really hoping I get to work it out to be at that game, because you and I have talked about this for a long time when it comes to West Virginia fans. Our best fans are our road game fans and our bowl game fans. It's incredible, because we tend to have the home game fans who get really fired up for the band, and then it's third down in the third quarter, and it's a 10-point game, and they're sitting on their hands, or somebody fumbles, and they yell at the coach.
By far, my favorite experience at a Mountaineer football game was the 2010 Pitt game at Heinz Field.
Okay.
And Pitt has a little tradition that they've just started about a year ago, that before the fourth quarter...
That's a real tradition, isn't it? When you start it in 2010.
Yes, it's big time.
It's not a tradition the first year you do it. Will someone tell these people that? It's our new tradition. No, it's really not.
Well, Pitt's football program has escalated to these huge heights in the last few years, and they were playing Buffalo, and they were losing.
Not the Bills, by the way.
Yeah, not the Bills, the Bulls, I think is what they're called. So the PA guy plays Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline.
Of course he does.
And the 10,000 people there sing along, and Pitt comes back, so it becomes this big tradition. Let's fast forward back to our game. We're up 35-10 going into the fourth quarter, and anybody that's ever been to a WVU Pitt game, or Pitt Penn State, or Pitt Notre Dame in Heinz Field knows that this is Pitt's game to fill the stadium for the year. This is how we make our money, and it's 50-50, maybe even 60-40 road team.
It always is. Every single time.
We happen to know that Sweet Caroline's coming up, so we pack our side, and they're all gone.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, we changed Let's Go Pitt to Eat Shit Pitt, and people on the sidelines were coming up to me in classes that I was still in school then and saying, "Man, y'all are crazy. Oh, you're all we could hear. That was nuts."
Well, yeah. And that's kind of how we do things. And that gives me a perfect segue to what happened a year later at Mountaineer Field. Because we know this is the last... This is one of the wonderful stories from Section 103, which is where my season tickets are. And if Jake comes down to where I'm setting for a game, usually there's going to be some type of incident, and that's the nice politically correct way to put
Normally with people
that.
on the field.
People on the field, maybe people in the stands.
Yeah, we don't throw anything at them. We just verbally abuse them.
They would prefer that we throw things at them, considering our behavior. So we know going in, this is the last regularly scheduled game between West Virginia and Pitt in the long rivalry, and we get the game, and it's a night game, and it's a very big deal because we've got conference championship hopes on the line. We've got to win this one, then we've got to beat South Florida the next week on national TV to win the conference, go to the BCS, which we did, and beat Clemson 70-33. But, this is Pitt. This is the Pitt game. We've got to do something special, and it's a night game, and there's something in the air at night games people don't understand. So, we're in our seats. I'm in my seat probably, I get there an hour before kick. And Jake comes down, and there are these two Pitt fans that are probably grade school age, and they think it's funny to start yelling things at West Virginia fans and things about Pitt. And, this is the Pitt game, so we're a little extra charged up. And I get to hear one of my favorite lines ever uttered at a West Virginia football game. "Shut up and get the hell out of here. I'd hate to have to punch a 10-year-old.
Guilty.
Yeah, I'm not the one who did that. So we get into the game, and quite frankly, for the first 2.5 quarters, we played like absolute garbage. Got hosed on the first drive of the game on some calls. And then just played terrible. And then, of course, like we always do in night games, we start charging from behind in the second half, and we end up beating them 21-20. And the best part of this game happens, again, end of the third quarter. Because where I am in Section 103, there's one more section to my left, and then the opposing team's section begins, and they're banned. And for the entirety of the third quarter, we are literally debating, surely they're not going to play that song to start the fourth quarter. It's an away game. They're not going to play that here. There's no way they're going to play Sweet Caroline. Now, if they do, we're already telling the people around us, look, if they do it, if you're not aware, this is what we need to do.
And here it comes.
But there's no way they're going to play Sweet Caroline. Third quarter ends, you get the announcement from the PA. I'd say 30 seconds, 45 seconds goes by, they're not playing it. And I guess they learned their lesson. Nope, here it comes. And if they thought that 30,000 people screaming it...
The first time wasn't that good because everybody wasn't on board. But the second time they went through, there's a video on YouTube out there.
From the field.
From the field, and the cheerleaders got flipped out.
But you could not be this stupid to do that at that game.
I don't think their cheerleaders knew it was coming, and I'm not sure why they didn't. But it was bad.
Well, it's because they go to the University of Pittsburgh. So that happened. My favorite moment, though, of that era is probably 2 years before going into the 2009 game, because I've never been to a game that meant as much to me as that 2009 Pitt game, because they're number 9. We need to beat them. We're looking for some payback and to kind of wash that taste out of our mouth from 2 years before. And Bill Stewart he needs that signature win for his resume, at least in terms of being the full-time head coach. And I think it's 6-6 in the third quarter. And ESPN is not coming out of a timeout, but they're coming out of just kind of a break in the action, and they're doing some stuff, on-screen graphics, teasing the next game that's coming up. And this is one of the times our sellout crowd decides to start chanting "Eat shit, Pitt," and it's just rolling through the stadium.
Noel just happened to break that 80-yard
as loud as it, and it goes straight from that chant into this roar as Devine breaks through the line and goes 88 yards for a touchdown. And I've never had a moment in my life that has matched that moment at Mountaineer Field against Pitt, and it makes me so sad that we don't have that game on the schedule anymore. Because, especially now.
As much as it does, I'm tired of playing charity for their stadium.
Well, fair enough.
I mean, I love the game, but...
Well, it's not even their stadium. They rent the stadium. It's the Steelers stadium. But still yet, that's as much of a charity game as the Marshall game is. The only difference is Pitt is occasionally competitive.
How funny would it be if we played Penn State in Heinz Field?
Well, we do. We play Penn State in PNC Park.
I know.
over and over again.
Let's just play them in Heinz and fill the stadium. And
yeah, that would be kind of fun.
I mean,
that's a really good idea.
That would just be.
We do need to do that.
Smack in the face of Pitt's program.
So, what are your thoughts going into the season? Because obviously, this is the most anticipated year for West Virginia football, probably since the 2012 year coming off of the Orange Bowl. You may be able to go back as far as the 2007 year going in with Pat and Steve and Owen and all those guys.
I'd say it's 2012. I mean, there was a lot of hype going into 2012.
And rightly so. I mean, after we went out and put 10 in the end zone against
rightly
Clemson.
So, but that defense was so bad.
Well, we fired...
It was so bad.
We fired one of the top 10 defensive coordinators in the country at that time so we could hire the janitor because he needed some charity.
And we also missed a recruiting class the year before because we went through our coaching carousel.
Well, that's another good point because of all that nonsense that happened. That's what it was. It was nonsense.
This year we're 10 deep of guys that can actually play on the D-line. I know we lost a Smurf, but if you're listening out there in Washington,
he's not listening. That's too much like work.
No, Darius Stills would take that job too.
That's what makes me feel so bad is that Gary Stills has 2 kids on my team right now. I feel horrible knowing that. I remember watching Gary Stills just terrorizing Syracuse at home in '98 and realizing that was 20 years ago.
We got Thornton's kid too, didn't we?
You're not helping. You're not helping. But I like what we've got defensively.
I think we'll be okay. I don't think we're going to be.
You're not going to have a top 10
2011 defense or 2010 defense.
You're not going to have a top 10 defense in the Big 12. It's just the game is not structured that way in this conference. It's not statistically it's not going to happen. Now in style of play, in how you can affect the game, you can have that kind of a defense to a degree. But you're not going to have these unbelievable statistics like you would in these conferences where everybody runs the same variation of the pro-style offense from the NFL and just keep generating these high numbers. You're not going to do it. Let's face it, Georgia had a great defense last year. Look at what Oklahoma put on that defense.
Well, and the offense has got to answer, too. I mean, we started the Oklahoma State game last year with 2 turnovers. We got nothing out of them. We gave up 50 points. I get that. But we got to capitalize.
Absolutely, 100%.
We got to capitalize.
100%. Well, we did the same. Look at what happened against Oklahoma 2 years ago, the snow game. I understand it was 28-0, but we literally
fumbled 3 times.
We handed them everything in that game. And once we settled down and started to play a little bit, we just about played them even. Just about played them even. And let's face it, that was not a team that had Will Greer at quarterback. Yeah, I like Skylar. Skylar played as hard as he possibly could. He got everything out of every drop of talent that he had.
I liked Skylar until Skylar threw the ball into the second row and walked over onto the sideline pumping his hands up in the air.
Which game was that?
That was the same game. The snow game.
Really? I don't remember him doing that.
It was on the other sideline. It wasn't on... I mean, obviously it was because
Right.
he was walking back to the Mountaineer bench.
Yeah, I didn't realize he did that. And at what point... What was the score at this point?
21-0, I think. It was 3rd and 8, and he had a wide-open receiver standing over there, and he fired it almost in at least 15 rows up.
Well, that seems just about right.
And that's stupid. The dude won, 30 games?
He did, and he won 10 that year. But it was also a 10-game win
We played 3
season.
ranked teams and lost those 3 games by average 20-some points.
Did you go to the bowl game that year?
Yeah.
You went to the game in Orlando?
Yeah.
That was about the most embarrassing thing that I have attended.
Terrible.
And remember, I went to the Gator Bowl against Maryland.
I was there too.
You know, I've seen a lot of embarrassing things. But that was also a Maryland team that, quite honestly, kicked the crap out of us earlier in the year. And,
Was it that game too? Was
and
it both Maryland beatdowns?
And they asked Rodriguez. This is when I knew we were screwed. Because we went on a run after we beat Virginia Tech. We went on a run, beat Pitt, had a great year, and we go into that game with Maryland. And I think we all thought this is going to be a different game. This is going to be a different game than it was the first time. So they do an interview with Rodriguez before the game, and I'm in Florida as he's giving this interview. And they said, what changes have you made, game plan, personnel? And he said, the game plan's pretty much the same. We took Jeremy Hines off of center and put Dan Moses in. We got beat 34-7. That was your switch? That's your magic potion? Well, it worked because we got beat 41-7 because we can't keep ourselves from kicking to Steve Suter.
I think that game was the inaugural put Hales in game. I think there's still people in the stands that want to put Charles Hales in.
I do. I want to put Charles Hales in right now. I would let him be my quarterback. In fact, here's how insistent I am about putting Hales in the game. I don't know what Rasheed Marshall does now, but I think he's going to do commentary for one of the games this year.
We should put Hales in.
I think at halftime they ought to pull him out of the booth and put Charles Hales in to do the second half. Yeah. Just like the Boston College game when Rasheed was hurt and he came in and we won 35-28. Yeah, put in Charles Hales. That is my battle cry. And I didn't hate Rasheed Marshall. Rasheed was good at what he did. And he was good in a straight line. The problem was you could put somebody in a folding chair at midfield and they would tackle him because he's not getting around anybody.
Rasheed won us what I still think are the 2 biggest back-to-back wins we've had.
Okay, were you at those games?
I was at neither one of those games.
You did not go to either the Virginia Tech or the Pitt game.
I was not in Virginia. That's how big they were. You knew exactly which games I was talking about.
I was at both of those
I would
games.
have loved to have been at those games.
I was at the Virginia Tech game. This was 2002, and it was on a Wednesday night. This is another one of my favorite legendary Mountaineer stories about how insane some of our people are. And we go in, and it's, of course, it's the Enter Sandman entrance. Oh, you mean the heavy metal song that came out in 91 and you didn't start using it until 2000 and you ripped it off from about 730 high schools across the country before you started doing it, and then you jump up and down and lose to Pitt, because that's what you do, is you jump up and down and lose, because nobody's really all that concerned about your entrance once you're going out and underachieving like you do after October every year. And of course, then it's the altered Enter Sandman lyrics, which are exit light, enter jail, which I think is good. for the Hokies. So that game is probably, if I'm going to be honest, it's probably one of the top 5 games in terms of quality that I've ever attended. And that's saying something, because that was a great game, defensively, offensively. It had everything. It had every moment. It had special teams. It had big plays. It had long drives, everything. So get to the end of the game, and the iconic moment of that game is the goal line stand. They break the first down run, get it to the 1, stop them on second, stop them on third, and then on fourth down, Grant Wiley
jumps over the line.
Over the line. Jumps. If you've not seen it, I uploaded. That game was not on YouTube for a long time. I'm the one who uploaded it to YouTube in its entirety. So check that out and watch Grant Wiley jump.
It's one of the greatest gut check plays in not Mountaineer football, of all football. Any game, period. I mean, it's just, the play is amazing.
He doesn't even, it's Major's run against Penn State.
And that's when Tony Caridi also kind of got his first shining call, because the Suggs' stop call was pretty awesome.
Suggs' stop short. And I remember this so vividly because I was up at the top of their stadium and up in the corner where they stick the visitors, and I am watching this play take place. And I'll never forget, the clock stopped at 3:51. And we were up at that point 21-16. And Grant jumps over the line, takes Suggs' legs out from under him. We stop him. And everybody around me is just losing their minds. And I'm sitting down.
Too much time.
Saying nothing. And my friend Aaron was with me. He had never been to an away game. And he's just losing it. He thought I didn't see the play. And he's just, we stopped him. I looked up and I said, 3:51. They're getting the ball back. And he just kind of turns, looks in the field and goes, oh. Yeah, they're getting the ball back. So, as we normally do, 3 up the gut, and then step out of the back of the end zone because the memories of 96 still haunt us, which was, the right call. Absolutely.
Call. You got to do that.
Absolutely. Take the safety, trust your defense, which has played well to that point anyway. And steps out of the end zone. They get the ball. Of course, Todd James kicks it out of bounds, so they get the ball at the 50. And I think I wasn't nervous until Randall had that scramble and took off up the sideline and got him deep into field goal range.
99 again.
You're seeing Vic. And I just thought, they are not going to do this again. And I think it was one more play. He rolled to his right, threw it to Wilford, and missed him short. And then the interception by Brian King
in the hands.
In the back of the end zone. And it's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, especially when you put it along the same lines as the game that happened 10 days later, the week of Thanksgiving at Pitt, which basically was looking like it was going to end the same way.
Right.
And they're going to drive down, and we're up 24-17, and I think it was Ben Collins jumped up and knocked the pass down on the last play of the game, because that was the Larry Fitzgerald years in Pitt, 02 and 03, where you could put 6 people on him, and somehow he's still going to catch it and run.
He's still the best player I've ever seen live. And I was on the next year when we played Pitt, about the third row on about the 40.
In 2003?
2003.
Oh, the third 52 game, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, we killed them, but they threw a pass over to... Was Palco the quarterback, or was that a guy before Palco?
It wasn't Palco. Well, I don't know. Palco
had to be there for more than 1 year.
Palco started as a freshman, and he was there in 04.
Okay.
So whoever it was I can't remember who it was in 03. I tell you, it might have been Rod Rutherford.
It's Rod Rutherford.
Yeah. He was there 02, 03.
So he throws a ball over to the left sideline, and I mean, everybody knew who Larry was. I'd never seen him play. Brian King was the safety that comes up, and Lance Frazier, somebody was the cornerback. I don't remember. Not important.
Lance is who they put on him, because they put him in a safety over the top.
Okay. So they go up, and they make a decent play. Larry hits Brian King in the head with his knee and catches the ball. I'm like, okay, how do you guard that?
Well, you don't guard it.
I don't know what you even do. We beat them 52-31. So
I remember we scored the last touchdown. Quincy, I think, broke a run and scored to put it away, and Bill Hillgrove was doing radio for Pitt. And as soon as he scored, he said, "Touchdown, West Virginia, and this is a blowout." Yes, Bill, it is.
We got to run faster.
You would think that if you're going to use the same guy for the Steelers as you do for Pitt, that you would at least get someone that's friggin' good on the radio, because Bill Hillgrove sucks.
He's terrible.
He is, and I love the Steelers, hate Pitt. Jack Fleming did Steelers games for 20-some years. Bill Hillgrove sucks. You could put me in the booth with no prep, and I can do a game better than Bill Hillgrove can. It's just dreadful. And I'm very picky when it comes to radio play-by-play, because I used to do it, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I don't know how the man has a job. It's just dreadful.
He's hard to listen to. And when he had Myron Cope, and I'm a Steeler fan that can't stand Myron Cope.
Well, he was a guy that was, quite honestly, he was a novelty, and that's all he could be, was a novelty, because he brought no actual analysis. He brought no actual input that enlightened
He just tries to sling
listener.
one-liners all day.
Right. And that there's no place for that. As funny as Skip Carey was doing Braves games for so many years, he was also a dynamite radio broadcaster.
Right.
And it was incredible. I don't care what was happening in a game. If you can tell me that I get to pick any broadcaster on the home side of a game going into the bottom of the ninth, I want Skip Carey calling that game. I have a pretty sizable radio archive for West Virginia football, Braves baseball, all kinds of things. And I have a copy of the entire bottom of the ninth of the Sid Bream game in 92. Not just the last play. I have the entire inning. If you can listen to that and not get chills, whether you're a Braves fan or not, it's one of the most amazing things you'll ever hear in sports.
Unless you're a Pirates fan.
Okay, fun story. I spent, that game was October of 92. I've spent my entire life looking for the Pirates broadcast of that, because I wanted to hear the call of that game ending, because I wanted to hear what happens. About 8 months ago, I found it.
So I've heard Bob Walk talk about it, and it's so sad, but it's so funny, because I can't stand Bob Walk.
He is kind of a dick. But it's one of those things, I know what it feels like to be on the other end of that situation. I know what it's like to be on the radio when a game goes bad at the end.
Right.
Because I've had to do it. But that one is so iconic. I wanted to hear exactly what it sounded like when Lanny Fratteri thought, I'm going to call a World Series.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Well, I mean, surely they've done nothing for 8 innings. They had one threat in like the 6th and did nothing with it. Drabek's unhittable. And then Jose Lean, the best defensive second baseman in baseball, tries to backhand one in the hole and boots it. And there's a moment in that 9th inning. Pendleton leads off the inning with a double. Justice hits the hard grounder to second. Lean boots it. And I think it's either after that happens or it's after the next at bat when Sid Bream walks. Whoever it is that's doing color commentary, as Fratteri's calling it, he goes, "Oh no. Oh boy. Oh no." And I thought, yeah, that is the understatement of the century, because you are so beyond screwed. I tell you, I've got that. I don't have any of the World Series games in their entirety, and I wish I did. I wish I had the 95 World Series in its entirety. But the one that just rips me apart, I can't deal with the 91 World Series. Game 7 of the 91 World Series makes me as sick as anything in the world. I've been to SunTrust Park 4 or 5 times on different trips, and they do Alumni Sunday every Sunday and bring in former Braves players, and they do autographs, and everybody gets to go through. If they ever have Lonnie Smith there, I won't go, because I will go to jail. I will go across the table and beat the hell out of Lonnie Smith. I hate Lonnie Smith because, and I understand, Jack Morris played an amazing game. He pitched an amazing game that night, and so did Smoltz. But Lonnie Smith is the reason why we didn't win that game, because you got to second base and acted like, not you have never played baseball, like you forgot how to run. It looked like your legs were on backwards. I don't know what was wrong. You could not possibly get that fooled by what just happened on a double in the gap, and ends up at third. They walk the next hitter. Bream hits into a double play inning over. We lose 1-0 in 10. It just makes me. I can't watch it.
That's how I am with the 96 one. And it's for a different reason. It wasn't one game.
Oh,
it was,
God. The Leyritz game.
When you go into Yankee Stadium and play like that, and then you come home and then you look like a minor league. You look like a rookie league team.
Well, we were up, what, 5-1?
Yeah.
Weren't we up 5-1 in that game?
Yeah.
And then it got to 5-2, and it's like, well, we're going to bring our closer in. Everything's going to be fine. And then it just implodes. Here's the worst part of that. We won the first 2. They won game 3, right?
3.
And then we won 4.
But it's how we won the first 2.
No. Game 4 is when the implosion happened.
No, it's when the implosion. Yeah, they won.
Okay,
we didn't win another game after the first.
So this is what's disgusting. Game 2 of the World Series at Yankee Stadium is the last World Series game we've won.
Yeah.
We went to one more and got swept in 4.
At least we won it like 11-2 or something.
Just beat them to death and beat Andy Pettitte, I think, in that game. And it was just deplorable to watch what happened. And that's what just drives me crazy. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up. I know this is probably against copyright law, but I'm going to pull up the end of that game from the Pirates Network. So you've never heard it,
I've never heard it. No.
Okay, let's see if I can get it. All right, I've got it queued up. You ready to hear the greatest call in the history of the Atlanta Braves in the playoffs?
Let it roll.
And it's not from our network. Oh, this is so good. Come on, Lanny.
2 balls and 1 strike. Pendleton led off with a double. Justice reached base on the leaned error. Bream walked. And that was the end of Doug Drabeck's night. Then again with a sacrifice fly. Berrio walked to load the bases. Hunter popped up to second baseman Lane. Stan Belinda with a 2-1 pitch. Cabrera swings and lines the ball into left field as a base hit. Justice scores. Here comes Bream. Bonds with a throw to the plate. Bream is safe, and the Atlanta Braves have won the National League pennant.
Crickets. Yeah.
Tune in next year.
The Atlanta Braves are the champions of the National League.
You know, don't you just wish that he would have turned into Harry Doyle from the Major League movies and said, "Oh, the hell with it. We're going to commercial."
Holy shit.
But that's it. That's the call. And I tell you what, I don't blame him for that call being that way, because there's nothing else. The only thing that would have been acceptable more than that would have been the sound of his headset bouncing off of the window of the press box and him leaving.
That's how you have to call that.
That's fantastic.
As the losing team.
That is fantastic.
That's the only way to do that. That's great.
Well, the other way to do it would be to give the old, well, it was an amazing season and we fell just short.
Yeah, you don't do that right there.
And it's him yelling off axis, "I was that close to calling a World Series, and that son of a bitch Stan Belinda has to groove one to a guy who's dead pull. It couldn't go the other way to save his life."
Thanks a lot, Stan.
I hope you're happy. Yeah, where are Kenny and Kyle? I know where Kenny and Kyle are. All that's missing is an Eric. Oh my God. All right, well, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to try to ambush Dave Marquardt and talk a little bit about his time in the early days of Apex and see if he has any of those magical Mike Davis memories. I don't know. He'll come up with something. Ambush interviews are our favorite. We'll come back with that right after this. It's episode 13 of Apex Live. We'll be right back. Oh my God. I've never had a friend get beat up by a midget wrestler before.
At least it was scripted.
Well, that's true. It is even worse whenever it's impromptu and just happens in the parking lot at Kroger.
Right.
We're back for more of episode 13 of Apex Live. I'm Brad. Jake's sitting in tonight. Okay. So what do you think? Should we ambush Dave?
Let's try to get Dave.
I think we should try to ambush Dave and just see how horrible this gets. The last time it was happening because Dave, I think he sent me a message of some sort during the show, and I thought, this is disrespectful. We're trying to record here, and you're sending messages. I'm hoping he answers.
We will hit Dave harder than Mike Davis did.
Again, not difficult to do. All right, let's see how this goes. This is my own fault for doing this kind of stupid stuff.
Does he have any idea you're calling him?
Well, he does now. The phone rings.
Well, I mean before the phone rings.
No, probably not.
Great.
I'm really pissed if he doesn't answer. You're running my show, Dave. See, this is what is so stupid. I know he's not busy.
He has nothing to do.
He's not doing anything. Is it raining?
The wireless...
You'll pay for that one. He will pay for that one.
Aw.
All right, so let's look a little deeper into the West Virginia season because this is important. We kick off, what is it? Is it September 2nd?
September 1st. We went off on a historic...
That's right, it is the first. We haven't gotten into it. So all of the attention is completely focused upon Will Grier and the Heisman run and the offense and everything that we're going to be able to do. But I think one thing that's being overlooked, and this is unfortunate that it's being overlooked, is this schedule is front-loaded with a little bit of difficulty, and it's back-loaded with some difficulty, but most of our toughest games are at home. And we get Oklahoma at home on Black Friday.
We've got the right Big 12 schedule.
We've got to go to Texas, but Texas does not scare me. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Texas. I'm absolutely not worried about Texas. There is not a team in the country that for the last 25 years has done less with more than Texas. Not one. They are unbelievable at that. And if that's the only game that we look at and think, yeah, we're going to have some trouble, we're going to be fine.
Iowa State's got a good team. NC State's got a good team.
I think Iowa State has a great, underrated coaching staff. They have a remarkably good coaching staff, and Matt Campbell will not be there for very long. No, he's going to run as soon as he gets a decent offer. And obviously the other one's Oklahoma State because they have that capacity to just rebuild and plug pieces into that offense. But I like the way that, for the most part, every year that we've been in this conference, we have gone in and hung with Oklahoma State without a single problem. Because I think even despite the Boone Pickens money, I think they are very comparable to us in the way that they do things, the way that they perform, their history, all of those things. I think they're very comparable.
Yeah, Kansas State's comparable to them. As long as Snyder's there, they're not going to be bad.
The
wind still blows in Lubbock.
When you still look at those, 2 years when Bill Snyder wasn't there, and the utter disaster that Ron Prince was.
It's horrible.
They will honestly, if they have to, they will keep him around as long as Grambling kept Eddie Robinson around. And Eddie Robinson had no idea where he was for the last few years at Grambling.
Not this past January, but the January before, the guy had cancer. And he didn't even think about, there wasn't like, we're going to put him on temp.
No, we're just going to go, we're going to go ahead and we'll reschedule a recruiting visit.
Yeah, that's nice, you've got cancer, but you're coaching us next year.
Yeah, we're also going to move kickoff to 3:30 because I have to have chemo at 12. But yeah, I'm going to be there.
The guy's a badass.
There is not a coach in all of football that I respect more than I respect Bill Snyder. Because he did not go in and improve Kansas State. He literally is Kansas State. Kansas State football is Bill Snyder, and that's as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that he's done, and I know I don't want to get... This isn't an overly emotional statement, but it's very true. He is the embodiment of what a coach is. When you see a player that gets injured for another team, and he sends them a handwritten note trying to lift them up and tell them he's praying for them and the encouragement. He did that with Trevon Boykin from TCU. He did it with Clint Trickett when Clint had his season ended against Kansas State, or didn't get it. Did he play that game? And Skylar came in late,
yeah,
or came in early.
No, Skylar came in late. We were getting beat pretty bad, and Skylar came in, threw a couple touchdowns, and almost brought us back.
But it was just one of those things. You see what he does, and he gets the point that coaching is about a whole lot more than just getting paid and getting the wins and losses. You see the way he impacts lives. College, especially the way college sports are going now, it'll be a tremendous loss whenever Bill Snyder's not around to coach anymore, because he has done so much. But just in terms of what he means to Kansas State, it is unthinkable of what will happen to that program. Because I know people get on him because he wants Sean to step right in as the coach. I don't care if Sean is the next incarnation of Bob Stoops, who got his start under Bill Snyder, because Snyder can recognize coaching talent. He's still not going to be Bill Snyder. People are not going to flock to go play for Sean Snyder. There's not a JUCO recruit in the country that I don't think Bill Snyder can go get and convince to come to Manhattan, Kansas. Get on Google Maps and look at the satellite. There's nothing in Manhattan.
It's a fun town, though.
People want to
It's a flat Morgantown.
But people try to tell me, it's tough getting people to come to Morgantown. Morgantown's known for being a party atmosphere. Manhattan, Kansas? First of all,
I had fun there.
First of all, it's Kansas. What year did you go out there?
I was out there for a conference in
Oh.
2013 or 14. It wasn't for a game. The students weren't even there, and we still had fun. But
so you've not been for a game?
I've not been for a game, no.
That's one of those... I wouldn't mind going to Kansas State for a game.
That's what I'm saying, though. Why do we need to play Pitt when we... I mean, that's a fun trip. That's a fun fan base. You're not going to get told you bang your sister.
Yeah, but that's the... can you believe how arrogant the Iowa State people are for behaving this way? I hate those people. But at the same time, yeah, I'm not going to Kansas for a football game.
No.
That makes... If their people don't go, why should I?
Right.
So that's kind of pointless. Kansas State, I think, would be fun because their people are always nice. And even though I make fun of their program because of all the crime and everything that's happened, the Baylor people have been nothing but generous when they've talked about their experiences in Morgantown. They have loved coming to WVU, even though they've never won here.
But I think you're kind of getting to my point in, when you're not scared of Texas, you're not scared, but there's no Temple, there's no Rutgers.
No, there's not.
Schedule.
Well, there's Kansas.
There is Kansas. But Kansas is... Okay, so Kansas takes the place of the MAC school.
But you do get the benefit of having them in basketball. So at least it's not a complete waste to have to deal with them.
But so your football schedule is you're able to schedule an extra big-time program. We're able to go to NC State plus Tennessee because you play Kansas.
Sure.
Kansas is a bye week. They're essentially Buffalo. And what scares me is the hype is the hype. Vegas has us at 7 games for a reason. Do I think we're going to win more than 7 games? Absolutely, but...
Is that what the over-under is? It's a flat 7?
It's a flat 7. And I'm 100% on the over. But when we're sitting here with Vegas, and the Big 12 coaches have us projected second, sure. When Vegas has you at a flat 7, you can't have people out there saying we're firing the coach if we don't win 10 games. That's just not...
Oh, whoa, wait a minute. Wait. Are you suggesting that there are elements in a fan base like ours that are saying that if we don't win 10 games in a season, which is something that's only happened a handful of times in our history, comparatively speaking, that we should fire the coach? I mean, aren't those expectations a little outlandish?
To be fair to those people, some of them are saying 10 games, a lot of them are saying Big 12 championship game, which is you're not going to that unless you win at least 9. I mean, you're not going to go 7-5 and play in Dallas the way the structure's set up. Right. So, I mean, you're asking for 9 or 10, and at that point, yes, there's a lot of big expectations this year. There's Heisman Trophy expectations, there's playoff expectations, there's title expectations. I think if we win 8 with this schedule, it's a successful year. And then there's 3 toss-ups. You're not going to win 12. Alabama's won 12 in the regular season once in the last 7 years.
Sure, and that was the year they beat Notre Dame for the national championship, I think.
Right. That's their one lone undefeated season. So you're not going undefeated. You might as well just throw that up on there.
Well, and I think the fact that teams in the current setup, because you've got a 14 playoff, so now you've got more teams that are saying, well, we've got to schedule tougher out of conference.
Which we have.
And that's what we've done. That's what a lot of teams have done, but that also takes away the possibility that you're going to go in and get an undefeated season. So now I think that's the primary reason for me that, look, realistically, you're not going to go to 16 teams in a playoff, and certainly nothing bigger than that. But at some point, you do have to kind of go to 8.
You have to go to 8.
Just because the numbers don't make sense if you don't go to 8.
Well, 8 makes... Okay, there's 5 major conferences. The conference championship game is a play-in game. So that title... You're essentially going to 16. Because that title game is a play-in game.
Yes.
The winner is in... Then you have 2 wild cards, and then you let the little schools have their team.
Yes.
So Central Florida gets in last year. There's your 8.
And I am totally fine with that. Ultimately, there are still people who insist. I'm sure there's probably a couple of insiders on the WVU message board who insist that we're going to 5 super conferences, at some point in the near future. Which, I mean, that's an interesting thought, but it's nowhere even remotely close into the future. And that would work out well because then you've got the 5 super conferences, everybody's champion gets in, you do 3 wild cards, you've got your 8-team playoff. But it's not realistic, especially not short term. So right now, you've still got to have, I think still the best option for an 18 playoff is you've got 5 power conferences. The 5 champions get in, you get your 6th, whoever whatever they are, and then you're 2 at large and you're done. And that is the only way that it works, and you don't have any complaining. Because if you've got a
you're
team...
going to have some complaining, but like Jay Billis says, when you're complaining about 65 instead of...
Yes.
Or 67, and when you're complaining about 9 instead of 5, when you're complaining 9 instead of 3, that's a big difference.
Absolutely
That's a big difference.
And Billis, for as much as of a dick as he can be, is an incredibly astute guy as a commentator. He's a really sharp guy.
At that point, when you're number 9 in the country, you've lost 3 games.
Yeah, especially the way that things are set up now. I want to see some more balance in terms of what we regard as fair, and some more objective standards rather than subjective standards. Because when you've got a team that did not even play in their conference championship game, that is in the playoff with 4 teams, and you have a Power 5 conference champion that is not in the playoff. You see what I mean? That doesn't fit to me.
You have to adapt conference champions because everybody can't play everybody.
Yes.
Professional sports, everybody plays everybody except for the NFL. And the NFL, anybody not named the Cleveland Browns can beat anybody any given Sunday.
That's very true.
So you could take...
I didn't tell you. I'm backup quarterback this year.
Hey,
yeah.
You might get on the list.
If Baker gets hurt, I'm in. Now, I'm probably going to fake an injury so I don't have to go play, but I'm at least on the roster. That's kind of fun.
I mean, Vegas has tall buildings because of home underdogs in the NFL. That's where they make their money.
I've said it for years. There are only certain things I'll gamble on. Baseball's a crapshoot because it takes one pitcher to have a bad day and he slept on the wrong side and he goes out and gives up 8 runs. I can bet on college football and win. I can bet on boxing and win. If you bet on the NFL, you're insane. Because literally, even the Browns, technically, every team in the league is full of professional players. That's what they do. And if you see a home underdog that's given 7 points, take it.
Take it.
Every time. You will never see a point spread in the NFL more than 14 points.
No. I mean, the Patriots
had
that historic year a few years ago where they were hitting 21-point spreads, but outside of that one anomaly, because that's what but outside of that one single anomaly in the last 60 years of the NFL, or whatever it is.
It just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
And that's how you make money. It's the same reason and the same logic that I can bet on boxing whenever it finally becomes fully legal to do so. I can do that, and I can win, and win big. Because do I think that here in a few weeks, Canelo Alvarez is going to beat Gennady Golovkin in the rematch? No. No, I don't think he's going to win. Am I going to bet on Golovkin? No. Why? Because Canelo is the cash cow in Vegas. That's why Golovkin won on my card, 116-112. Some people had him winning 117-111. And you had one judge who had it 118-110 for Canelo. And we did a show as a preview, episode 3, for our more astute listeners who know our history. We did a show where we recorded before the fight and recorded after the fight. And we gave her all of our pre-fight analysis. And I said, I think Golovkin will win the fight. I don't think he can win a decision. If I had money on the fight, I'd put it on the draw. Because they're not going to take the fight away. Mm-hmm. How did it end up? A draw. I mean, I've been around this sport long enough to know. Boxing is all about making the bets that you think are safe.
Yeah, it was...
Not who you're actually going to win the fight. The same is true with the NFL. College, you can at least kind of... You can usually figure out who's a live dog in college football if you really know what you're watching and understand the game beyond what Lee Corso and Herb Street say on College Game Day at 10:30 before they're making their picks. If you want to lose your ass on football, listen to what the people say on College Game Day making picks.
Take the Bears picks.
Yes, that's how you want. Well, it's the Bear, and he said that this team has only covered 3 times out of the last 9 games. So I'm going to take Virginia to beat Alabama and take the points.
People bet that stuff.
Idiot.
Don't you? If that information's available to the Bear, the guys in Vegas know that too.
If you want to listen to anything about sports, there's a reason why Vegas looks the way it looks. The people in Vegas know exactly what they're doing. So I'm going to listen to what they say. Now, along the lines of what you were saying, are we going to win more than 7 games this year? Absolutely we are. But I think in terms of what they have our over-under at this year, that is more of an indicator for me that they see some things that we need to identify as problem areas and problem issues going into the season.
Well, they also don't see those. I mean, it's based on a percentage of win of every game, and we've got a lot of 60-40s.
Boy, do we.
We don't have a lot of 80-20s. I mean,
And that's the nature of the beast in the conference.
It just is. And back to the point about the playoffs, USC getting into the playoffs doesn't need to depend on who won the UCLA-Purdue game. And that's the world we live in right now, because conference champions aren't honored. So UCLA went out and played Purdue, and I don't know if they've ever even played each other, but that's just an example.
Right.
Let's say UCLA plays Purdue, and Purdue beats them by 2 touchdowns, and then Ohio State turns around and beats Purdue 42-10, and USC only beats UCLA 42-21.
Right.
All right. You put those 2 resumes together, that tells you absolutely nothing. You've gained no knowledge. You know nothing about the difference in those 2 teams. And anybody, you can put any talking head in that room, and they can come up with any kind of proof or story they want to. The bottom line is they're picking which team they think are going to have the better ratings in the playoffs.
Or they go straight to the transitive property.
And that's just
They
terrible.
go to the transitive national champions every
terrible.
year. I mean, one year, wasn't it a Division III school that was the transitive national champion?
Fairmont State's won it 3 years in a row. And Pitt's caused it every year because Pitt's gone out and lost to like Furman, and then they beat Clemson.
Okay, now here's the thing: have you seen the thing with the college football championship belt?
Yeah.
Do you know who has it right now?
No.
Pitt, because Miami had it and Pitt beat them, and then Pitt didn't play in a bowl game, so they didn't lose it. Pitt has the belt.
Well, we had the thing on Reddit in basketball for a while there about the territories. That
the Dominion.
owns.
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, people just have way too much time. I mean, you can go out and prove that so and so is better than somebody else any way you want to. Use conference champions.
You say you can.
Use conference champions. Use people that play each other.
I'm fine with that. I just want to see some more objective standards that do not strictly cater to the SEC ratings juggernaut over everything else. And that's exactly what's happening. And let's face it, Georgia played extremely well in the Rose Bowl. They played extremely well in the national championship game. If their moron defensive coordinator doesn't create a sack on one play, and I think it was 2nd and long at that point. It was 2nd and 20-something, I think. And he goes into a cover 2. How are you not in a cover 4 in that situation for the national championship and you've got the lead? How are you not in a cover 4? At least on one side if they're overloading one side. I will never understand that call. They played extremely well. Georgia had every reason to be there. And I understand Alabama won the game. They won the national championship. But I understand the gripe when they didn't even play for the conference championship.
I get the gripe.
Yeah, I understand the gripe. Now, do we need to go strictly in terms of conference champions the way that it's structured now? You can't.
You can't.
It would take some restructuring to make that feasible and to make it any more legitimate than what's going on now.
That's why I get the gripe, but I want to see the champions plus your Alabama and one.
Yes.
And like I said, go ahead and let your Central Florida play for it.
But that's a great point. That is a great point. Alabama, you can gripe that they didn't belong in the 4, but they had every right to be in the 8.
To be in the 8.
So if you had 5 and then Alabama and Ohio State, or Alabama and Auburn, and then you have Central Florida, and you really couldn't have had Alabama and Auburn and Georgia because the rest of college football would have lost their minds if you had 3 SEC teams out of 8. And that's overkill. I get that.
Let's be honest with Central Florida here, okay? It's a great story that
they're the national champions, Jake.
You know, bowl games are great. They're fun. A team that thought they were going to be playing in the playoffs that goes to the Peach Bowl doesn't care about the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
They just don't. Central Florida has had a point to prove. All you got to do, you don't have to look further than what happened in San Diego last winter, when West Virginia plays Marshall in basketball and the game actually matters to both teams.
Uh-huh.
And you see what happens.
Yeah, the utter beatdown. And it was
men against boys.
Let me give you another...
Until Odd Elmore came in, and then it was men against fat slow men.
Fat middle-aged slow men. You're supposed to be a little. You're supposed to be a little slow whenever you're 56
Can we just
years
talk
old.
about that stat line for a
sophomore.
second?
Please do.
Can we just
Please
stop and talk about that
Let's
stat?
hear it.
45 seconds.
Okay.
4 fouls, a 3, an assist, and a technical.
Oh my gosh. You know, you've almost. First of all, you almost have to try to do that. Second of all, you know, for years, the old school basketball mind said you have to have a goon. You have to have for years, West Virginia had one. We would have the rest of the team, and then we'd have Matt Roadcap that came in, and he would foul people and hurt them, and then leave, because you had to have a goon. It's an enforcer in hockey. But you really don't have that in the modern game, because there's so much parity, you really can't give a scholarship away to a goon. But even your worst goon ever does not get 4 fouls in 45 seconds. And you know what? He was amused by it.
He was.
He really enjoyed and went straight to Twitter and was talking about exactly what he did.
He hit a 3, too.
Yeah, he did. That's a lot of
goon
work.
Can't shoot.
That's a lot of work. Well, there's the title of the episode, The Goon Can't Shoot. But, you know, isn't that really that's really the point of this? That was the game that wasn't it. I think it was Vernon. It was Vernon Bailey from WVSports.com said that he was on the floor before West Virginia played Murray State that night, and Marshall just had their big upset over who did they play? Wichita State.
Yeah, Wichita State.
And they're on the floor, and West Virginia takes the court, and Dan D'Antoni sees West Virginia take the floor and does that little smug smile and says, "Bring 'em on." We're not playing at the Civic Center,
right?
You
and that's
moron.
For people that don't know the whole story,
and we did. We did bring it.
We did bring it,
and it was offensive to small children who were forced to watch that game.
I mean, I've watched Sweet 16. I've watched Elite 8 teams play. West Virginia teams play Marshall teams that didn't have a winning record in the Civic Center.
Sure.
In games that only mattered to one team. And Marshall won. They won the game.
And
then
stormed the floor.
Then they turned around the next week and lost to Southern Miss Community College. Not the Southern Miss
Not
Eagles.
not even real Southern Miss. Southern Miss is junior college.
And Alabama A&M. And when it matters the same amount to both teams, and that's why yes, we're going to let Central Florida or whoever is that team that comes out win, but they're going to have to win 3 games against real teams that actually care.
Absolutely.
And if they do it, then I'm not saying they can't do it. But maybe they can.
But the fact that they would have to do that is precisely why no one's ever going to put them in a 4-team playoff. They went undefeated. You're more likely to see a 2-loss team from a Power 5 in that playoff than an undefeated American Conference champion.
I mean, we lived the American Conference for a few years. Now, there were a couple years when the new Big East was better than people want to give it credit for, but you had...
When we were in there and Cincinnati had Brian Kelly, and you had some talent that conference.
But you still had 4 games that were 80-20 games.
Oh, absolutely. If
back to that 80. If that. I mean, there were some teams that were horrible.
You can make the case that the American Conference now is better than it was the last year or two that we were in it, because Memphis can play.
Yeah.
Memphis can play some football right now. Now, how long... That's the question for me. They had 2 really fun shootouts with Central Florida, but I don't know how sustainable things are for Memphis. I don't know how sustainable things are with Central Florida.
It's sustainable when you play... I mean, you saw that East Carolina team that was in their conference walk into our stadium.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop a high school team.
No, not at all.
I mean, and... when you're playing teams like that, and then you've got Memphis and Central Florida can wait for each other for 3 weeks.
We also didn't play very well in that East Carolina game and still did what we did.
Yeah, we played fine in the first half.
Yeah, because then we realized, I don't even really think we got to come back out. I think we're good.
We scored 55 points in a half.
What does that tell you? And that's where we are.
That's in the Big 12, in the SEC. You play, even when you're playing your Texas Techs, who are... just above the bottom rung. Kansas is the bottom rung.
Sure. But
you're playing that in the Big Ten's got 14 teams. I'm not talking about, yes, there's a Rutgers. All right.
Right.
I get there's that one team. But so you play 9 games, you get 1 freebie. You have 8 games that you got to get up for, or you're going to lose. Ohio State lost to Northwestern. I mean,
I know it.
You know, I mean, it happens if you don't get up for it.
All right, two more things we've got to talk about. First of all, you had a particular gripe with an article that was posted on the Smoking Musket, which is a WVU athletics coverage blog website of some sort. And I'm with you wholeheartedly, but you were fired up about this. I was not happy with it. You need a platform to air your grievances like it's Festivus whenever these things happen. I want to hear it. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm all for the 25 things we don't need to, we don't want to remember. It's a cool little segment. The first one they decided to air was the Barry Brunetti, what was Logan Heasty, or not Barry, or Boyd DeHeasty.
Yeah,
Taj Boyd. Brunetti came in after him and whatever.
Ended up at Ole Miss.
And we got Geno Smith, which kind of proves the point I'm about to get to. 3 4-star quarterbacks that were all Elite 11 were recruited by this guy. The whole article...
Which guy was this?
The whole article, instead of, focusing on these two clowns coming in and printing off their shirts and, coming to the spring game acting like they were... And by the way, they were huge recruits, so they did have egos. The whole article was played out as just a way to knock the whole Bill Stewart first year season.
Right.
And I just thought, yes, let's give a little backstory, but we all know what happened in that East Carolina game. We all know what happened in the Colorado game. Bill didn't do anything but win 9 games here.
I remember...
It's all he did.
Well, yeah, but we all remember when he missed that field goal against Colorado in overtime.
Right.
I remember that.
And now he's on Barstool, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Just making sure I got the right guy.
I really thought that Bill would be a little more subdued on his show on Barstool than he was after missing those kicks. Wait, that was Pat McAfee.
The man's been in the grave for 6 years.
Has it been 6 years?
2012.
Oh my, yeah, because I was working at Mountain State. Oh my gosh.
To go in depth about what he did in the Colorado game, not calling a timeout.
28 wins. 28 wins.
And pinning that,
28 wins. He won 9 games 3 years in a row. I can tell you the coaches that ever did that at West Virginia University. I can tell you who they are. Rich Rodriguez did it. Don Nehlen did it. Tell you what, Bobby Bowden didn't do it. Bobby Bowden had 6 really good seasons here. Bobby Bowden didn't win 9 games 3 years in a row. Did not do it. Nor did, what's the guy that was coaching when Ira Rodgers was playing? Oh, who cares? But still, none of these people, even from the past, it was Rodriguez, it was Nehlen, it was Bill Stewart. And you know what? Dana's not done it. Dana's getting paid more than any of those guys did. And I like Dana. I've got nothing against Dana.
And that's what gets me so heated, because that's the attitude that's put our fan base where we're at right now.
The entitlement.
We're not where we were when we were talking earlier about those 2002 games. That was a different fan base. That was a get in our face, and we're going to smack back.
It was a different fan base, and it was a different program that, quite honestly, I loved Don Nehlen, and I never agreed with the criticism he had even in the late 90s. But it was a program that had, I'm not going to say we had fallen asleep, but it was a program that had kind of plateaued a little bit because we were a little bit behind the curve for what had started to happen in the rest of college football in the late 90s. So we were resurgent whenever we had something new and inventive going into those early 2000s years. And the fan base had a reason to be energetic and be fired up and all these things. But as much fun as those 05, 06, 07 years were, and winning 11 games 3 years in a row, it was a blast. Unfortunately, a lot of people have forgotten their place in all of this, and they're expecting that to be the new norm. Well, Pat White graduated, and we don't run that offense anymore. And
yeah,
Owen Schmidt's gone, and Steve Slayton's gone, and by the way, Rick Trickett is gone.
Take away the Fiesta Bowl. Oh yeah, Stu also won a Fiesta Bowl. Take away that game.
What difference does that make? And
the best game he coached was a loss. We went into Death Valley and were within a field goal of tying the game with 3 minutes to play.
Yeah. I thought he coached extremely well in that game. And I'll tell you what, people can disagree with me. I thought he coached well in the downpour game at Auburn.
Yeah.
It's not his fault that Jarrett Brown kept doing what Jarrett Brown was doing.
Right.
Late in that game. That's not his fault. We went in there against a darn good Auburn team and played extremely well on the road in an absolute quagmire. I thought that was an impressive performance. And the game that I will always remember, we talked about this game. That was a night game, and we talked about it in the hours of the afternoon before that game happened. And it was a game when Cincinnati, I think, went undefeated in the regular season and went to the BCS. And we had to go up there and play them. And we ended up losing, I think, by 3 on a...
And we got cheated so bad.
A bogus call. Ryan Clark, the fullback, I believe, was on the receiving end of that bad call on a fumble. But we... it should have been a touchdown.
Should have been a touchdown. That's what it was. And they went over and they said they didn't have a camera angle.
Didn't have a clear angle
from the pylon. They said their angle was a little bit to the right of the pylon, so they didn't have a direct angle, so they couldn't.
It wasn't conclusive. But Bill Stewart went in there and won that game. Let's be honest. He went in there and won that game. I don't care what the ledger says. So he had some amazingly good coaching performances, and people are going to be upset because of a timeout that should or shouldn't have been called against Colorado, and a game against East Carolina where, let's face it, they were extremely well prepared. We went in, laid an egg, played terribly. Again, that was the second game of his full-time tenure as head coach at West Virginia, and there are fans who never let those 2 games go.
And that article was that was proof of it. Just to take a cheap shot at that. Those 2 games had absolutely nothing to do with the point of the article.
Well, how long ago have these things taken place? His son now works for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
He's already out of college and working for the Steelers. I don't even think
Blaine was in high school at that point.
Okay. How in the world have we gotten a group of people that are that entitled, that are that out of touch with what reality actually is? Look, if we had a coach that we were not seeing improvement, we were not seeing things getting better, and we were still in the American Conference and plateauing against teams that we should not be plateauing against, playing them every year, I would have a gripe. We're in the Big 12 right now, and we've got people who want to have everyone fired and start over. Okay, question. Who are you going to get to come in here if we're having successful seasons and you fire a head coach? Who is going to line up to come in here with these challenges after you fire someone who's done this? And yet still the overriding point comes down to one thing. We're still hung up on Bill Stewart this many years after.
Well, and
that makes me... it drives me crazy. Just drives me crazy.
If you did get rid of Dana, when you brought Dana in, you changed the whole philosophy. You changed the program. You changed the style. We're not hiring Rich Rodriguez tomorrow, but let's say we brought Rich Rodriguez in here after this season. Let's say we win 6 games and we hire Rich Rodriguez. Rich Rodriguez used 265-pound guards that zone blocked. All right?
Right.
Right now we have what I call a Boston College tackle. We've got big, strong, long guys. All right? Those guys cannot run that zone read offense.
Oh, Lord, no.
It would take a whole recruiting class. A whole 2 years of going 3-9, 4-8 while we figure out what we're doing.
Sure.
To win again.
We got to that 2013 season, and 2013 was a bad year. Everything went wrong. We went out and lost to Kansas, and I still cannot believe that we went out and lost to Kansas at Kansas. But we got to the end of that year, and it was very frustrating. We lost our bowl streak, and just everything went wrong. And one thing we talked about was, okay, and I can't believe that was 5 years ago now. But we said, okay, we're obviously 3 years into this. We're committed to it. We're just going to have to run with it. You can't reset now.
There's no reset.
You've got to run with it. Well, we've done that. 2014 was a step back in the right direction. Lost the Liberty Bowl that year, but it was a pretty successful year. We did some good things. 2015 got a little better, won our bowl game. 2016 we win 10 games. Last year should have turned out better than it did, but we had some trouble, and Will Greer gets hurt, and Jake Spavital makes me want to pull my hair out sometimes. That's why I've got to keep it short whenever we go into the season, because he just drives me insane. And now we're back into this. But the anticipation for the 2018 season would not be what it is unless we had stayed the course and recruited toward what we do. And give credit to Holgorsen for this more than anything else. He came in here and was very bombastic about how I can put my offense in 3 weeks, and we can do all these different things from all these different formations. And by 2013, it was like, well, they figured the touch pass out. Tavon's gone. What are we going to do now? He has adapted. And he's adapted his offense into some things that made West Virginia good in the 80s and the 90s and some of the mentalities of the 2000s. He's kind of adapted that more than us adapting him in a lot of areas. And I love that he's done that, because now it's not us buying into him anymore. He's buying into the program, into the history, into us and the people and what we do. I have to give a lot of respect to him for that.
Well, I just hope we don't go into Charlotte and we don't go into Raleigh with the mentality. I hope we go into there with that mentality that we went into Blacksburg and Pittsburgh. Not the mentality of, man, I hope the coach doesn't call a timeout when I think he's supposed to, so I can boo him and hope he gets fired. You know,
how many fans do we have? How many fans do we have that deep down are hoping that things go bad so they can scream and yell, and they would rather us not succeed so they can be right rather than us succeed, and that means they're wrong.
I'll never forget this game. I'll never forget this game. It was 2013. It was the last game of the season. There's probably 35,000 people there, and that's a high number. We're playing Iowa State.
Right.
We're up 35-7.
What year was this?
This was 2013.
Okay. This is the year we blew the 30-point lead, and my transmission the radiator blew up on my car on the way out of the game, and I was stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, I'm still pissed over the whole Stu thing, and I'm as Iowa State starts coming back, I start kind of laughing and thinking, this is going to be funny as hell if they come back and beat us. And I did. I sat there and I was quiet, and at the end of the game, I was what it was, wasn't mad, and I started thinking, if I'm going to devote to this program like I always have, time, money, everything else, I'm not going to have that kind of attitude ever again.
Right.
And it's not about who's coaching the team. I've got one coach left. I had Rod, and he did what he did, and then I had Stu, and I've got one coach left, and that's Bob Huggins, and I would rather see Hugs win a title than anything. I mean, it's just, if I could have one sporting thing happen,
yes,
it would be Bob Huggins wins a national championship at West Virginia. There's no second thought.
I've said that since day one. If you came to me right now and said you've got a coin and you can decide which side it lands on, you win a football national championship, you win a basketball national championship. Up until 2008, I would have said football. And when Bob Huggins came back here, I said, I want Bob Huggins to win a national. And if there was ever any reason to justify it, listening to him talk at Madison Square Garden when we just won the Big East Championship, and they're playing Country Roads in the background, and they said, how big is this? And he said, this one's special because it's West Virginia. When that happens, how in the world could you not want that more? And that's not, by all means, let's go ahead and win one in football. But if you give me the choice, I want Bob Huggins to win a championship.
But outside of Hugs, I'm not going to let my opinion of a coach cloud where I want the program to go.
Well, of course not.
And I've done that before. And I think when that group of the fan base you're talking about, I think that's what they're doing.
Sure.
I think you're letting your opinion of a coach, whether you think he's good or you think he's, and you got to look at it in a broader sense, and that's why we have the ADs that we have, because they're supposed to be able to do that, which I think Shane Lyons has done a pretty good job of doing that.
All things considered, everyone was so excited whenever Oliver Luck came in, and Oliver Luck did a lot of good stuff.
He made one bad decision.
I understand people got extremely upset about the whole radio rights deal with West Virginia Radio.
What are we, IMG number 3
and
right
all
now?
that, and he signs with IMG. And one thing I do miss, that identity, that unique identity we had when it was just MSN, because we had a sound that was unlike anyone else. I loved that. But when you see the benefits that we've got with IMG, we're in the top 5 for them across their entire network, and that's a big deal with IMG. The money that we're getting kicked back as a result. Oh, do you like the new scoreboard? Do you like all the stuff that's going on at the stadium? And that's IMG money. Okay, we're not paying West Virginia Radio to produce our games now. We're getting paid millions because of IMG and all these third-party rights. I love what he's done with that. Luck made one bad decision. Okay, that happens. With that said, he did set the table for Shane Lyons to come in, and I think Lyons has really carried the flag pretty well moving forward.
And let's be clear also, Dana Holgerson's a different coach today, like you hashed out a minute ago, than he was when we hired him in 2012.
He got humbled.
He's also grown. He's got 7 years of head coaching experience.
he was the same coach when he came in 2011. He was the same coach up until we played Texas Tech in 2012. And when that went completely nuts, it was like, okay, yeah, that was a road game. We're going home the next week.
Yeah.
We're going to play K-State. And not only did that not go well, that is one of the worst experiences I've ever had at Mountaineer Field because of one particular incident in that game. Do I have Crazy Train on here? By the way, I do want to say this. I know this is completely off topic. But I know I referenced earlier that the last 7 weeks have been pure, utter hell. But the circle that I have has been incredible. And there have been a lot of people who have helped keep me on my feet. I'm not kidding you. One of them that has been one of the most pivotal parts was Melissa. Everything has been cleared up. Everything's awesome now. So thank you for that, in case you listen to all of this rambling diatribe about West Virginia athletics. But yeah, how about that? That's a far cry from the Kansas State foolishness, isn't it?
Well, you got to remember that there's two different types of people. There's the chick off of Titanic who pushes her boyfriend off in the ocean when there's room on the raft, and then there's the guy from Hacksaw Ridge who hangs out amongst the Japs and pulls all of his dudes off the cliff because he's not going to let them lay up there and get executed.
Ah, boy. I'm highlighting that and putting it on the highlights page.
And there was room on that stupid raft.
There was room on the raft. Or on the board.
The
or
board,
whatever it was. The point is, there was room. That was a choice. Okay? You weren't forced into anything. Man,
sorry if we're hating on someone's... Actually, I'm not sorry. It's a terrible movie.
Nobody cares. Who cares? It sucks. It was garbage then. It's garbage now. Hindsight doesn't make it any clearer. Oh, my God. All right, one more thing. And you were a part of this. We told a couple already. What's your favorite 103 story?
Mine's going to be different than yours, but it was just so... It
may not be different.
It's a toss-up. Okay, I'll give 3 and an honorable mention. Okay. So honorable mention's Rocky the Bull from USF.
2008.
That was a good one.
Wait a minute, does that count? Because that was when Bill Stewart was the coach.
Yeah, that was a good one. But so
Where's Adrian?
Number 3 could be your favorite, which is Channing Eat Shit Paul at Paul Rhodes.
Is that number 2?
That's number 3 for me.
Oh, that's number 3?
It's number 3.
Man, that was awfully good, because we didn't just do that to Paul. We were on his entire coaching staff because they were all getting fired.
And we had the whole section chanting with us for a minute.
We did. And wasn't that the game, too, that one of the support staff was walking down the sideline, and I started screaming at him, calling him Steve Spurrier because he had the visor on, and he turned around and tipped his cap to me?
No, that is number 1. I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
So number 2 is when we insulted Zach Caleris' little brother.
You know what? That might be my number 1. That might be my number 1.
Zach Caleris we're playing Cincinnati, and Zach Caleris' little brother's wearing a Steubenville big Shreds.
Yes. By the way, kids, Steubenville High School. This is not Steubenville anything else. It's Steubenville High School, and I know what you're thinking wherever you are listening. Is that the same Steubenville High School that had the big case with the rape? Yeah, that's the one. That's the exact same high school.
Zach Caleris is Cincinnati's starting quarterback, and his little brother's wearing one of their shirts, and one of us yells, "Who the hell are the big Shreds?" And it went on from there.
Well, he wouldn't answer the question, Jake. If he would have answered the question to begin... First of all, we were chanting at DJ Woods because he kept getting lit up by whoever it was that was our big corner that year, annihilating him. But we stayed on him because it's a gray T-shirt and has a big red S in the middle of it. On one side it says Big, the other side it says Reds. And we were just inquisitive. Who are the big Shreds? We don't understand what your shirt means. Who are the big Shreds? And at this point, we're up 25 points. It's like 35-10. And we're screaming at him, and he finally has had enough and turns around and yells at us, "It's Steubenville High School, okay? We just beat Morgantown last night." To which our response was, "Turn around and look on the field." We pointed our hat and said, "This means West Virginia University," and we're embarrassing the University of Cincinnati right now. Well, we didn't really understand what we were doing until about, 3 days later on Tuesday when we did the research and figured out, that was the starting quarterback's younger brother that we were embarrassing at that point.
They're for a recruiting trip for Cincinnati. They're trying to get him to play for them.
Well, I think we may be the reason why he didn't.
So number one,
All right.
and this game was special. It was Stu's last game in Morgantown. There weren't many people there. It was freezing cold in December.
Oh, God, of course. How did I forget this?
Greg Schiano is coaching Rutgers, and he's about to get fired. And LeBron James is leaving Cleveland at the same time, and I start chanting, Akron hates you. Or Akron loves you.
Akron loves you.
Akron loves you, because we're insinuating he's going to Akron. That's his new job. And it turns into keep chopping Schiano, and before the half is over, Greg Schiano's running off the field chopping at us.
Well, to be fair, we were chopping at him first.
We were
chopping
yelling at him. And
wasn't he being interviewed on TV while we were doing this this point?
And he comes back onto the field chopping at us again.
And not just chopping at us, he has us stared down.
And
while he's doing
the whole second half, he would turn around and chop at us.
Yeah.
And it just, every time, keep chopping, Schiano, or Akron loves you.
And we're in his head to the point where I understand totally, on a reactionary level, I understand him doing it on the way off the field after the interview. I get that. But the fact that he came out of the tunnel doing it immediately after tells me, you didn't even talk to your team at halftime. You were just thinking, I'm going to show those two idiots whenever they come back out here.
Yeah, he had the last laugh. He got to go make millions of dollars to lose games in Tampa Bay. So.
You know what? That is a pretty good last laugh, to get paid to coach that poorly. All right, what's your honorable mention?
Well, it was Rocky the Bull.
Your honorable mention was Rocky the Bull.
It was Rocky the Bull.
Okay. So there was one I was a little surprised you didn't mention, and I can't remember what it was now. I did enjoy, it may have been that Cincinnati game. That whole game was a major problem.
That whole game was great.
Okay. My favorite, one of my favorites was probably, I think it was that game. We were completely tired of people getting introduced during timeouts. We've just had a big moment, a big stop on defense, and the crowd's charged up. We go to a timeout. We need to keep this thing cooking, and we've got to introduce the women's janitorial staff from the Towers dorm. It's breast cancer awareness.
Cleaned up a lot of puke last week,
and they're using a lot of pink mops trying to raise money for Susan G. Komen. No, for God's sake, you're killing my environment. So we've had it, and we've decided we're going to show our displeasure no matter what it is that's coming down next. So we look over to the other side of the stadium, and here comes a parade of probably 25 people heading down the steps, and they're obviously coming onto the field. Who's this? Who's it going to be this time? You're going to trot out onto the field, and we've got to clap for them and act like they matter. I've had enough. And we're just heckling them constantly. And they come out onto the field, and it is veterans who have just come back from Iraq. And in the way that only you can, we're both laughing. And you turn and look at me and said, well, we're assholes. That one was pretty bad. There's one other one that...
I hope the girl that sits in front of us listens to this, because she gets a kick out of all of our...
That's Jess. And I don't know if Jess and JP listen to this or not, but they really should. Because we've had a lot of these moments. And I think the most important part of this in 103 is that we do this whether we're winning or losing. It really makes no difference. The hate comes out really no matter what. I remember the one that I can't believe you didn't mention. There was a game, and there's video evidence of this. There's a game where we got so out of control heckling the other team's bench, we made it onto television more than once.
They were a Division II school.
Were they D2? I thought, Norfolk State.
I think, yes, there is actually a screen. I've got the picture, I'll try to find it, of the score, and it's like 42-0, and we're both standing there like, what, Norfolk State? What? Well,
I think they went down and either kicked a field goal or scored and missed a conversion.
Imagine
and they were
that.
Celebrating like the team that West Canaan plays at the end of Varsity Blues. They were looking a lot like that. And we were over the cement wall screaming at their bench, "You're Norfolk State. Look at the scoreboard. Okay, look at the scoreboard. And it wasn't even that typical sports taunting, scoreboard. No, we're just trying to look at the scoreboard and then look in the mirror. You're Norfolk State. Just stop it.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
And it kept getting bad, and it kept getting bad.
There was no one at that game, and it was on, like,
Root
Sports, whatever it's called now. It's something else now, I think. But
well, then they turn around, and they acknowledge the fact that we're screaming at them. And it starts with special teams, and then other people start turning around, and they're obviously not happy, and they start yelling back. Well, you don't want to do that, because if you acknowledge us, it's like kindergarten. Don't encourage them. They're only going to make it worse. And there we go. And it just kept going, and it kept going. Pretty much any time we played Rutgers or anybody like that, we're going to be bad.
Oh, yeah.
But it's games like that. How in the world? I'm noted for some of the creative stuff that I do. I understand that. The game against Maryland, when Ralph Friedgen was the coach, and I brought a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts to the game and started screaming at him, telling him to come have one with me, and he looks like King Hippo from Punch-Out!, and he looked like he wanted to come attack me for what I did, and then it's 28-0 at the end of the first quarter, and he probably forgot about it. What was the other one that I'm pretty well known for?
The best pregame I've ever done is the game that we're not going to actually talk about the game. But before the game, Dave Wanstead's out there on the field hobbling around.
On crutches.
Well, I'm just watching him and yelling, "Hey, Dave, you don't need those crutches." And every now and then I'd catch him taking a couple steps. So finally I get him to point the crutches at me. But Dave was a good dude. He was laughing a little bit.
There's one more that I thought I was pretty well-versed for. I got us a call one time. I did do that.
You did do that.
That was the 09 Pitt game.
Yeah, you did get us a call.
And I was just in rare form for that game anyway. And there was I think it was a side judge. His name was Steve, and worked that game. So
I don't know if his name was Steve.
Or Scott. It was
you were calling him Steve.
And I opened the program and figured out his name and started yelling at him. Okay, so I just started going off on him. And I said, "You mean to tell me that we've played 30 minutes of football and Pitt has not held, they've not been offside, nothing has happened, you're not going to throw one flag?" Come out for the second half, I'm still going. And now I'm on the first name basis because I've had time to do the research. And I'm still screaming at him. And I'm 3 rows from the field. Believe me, he can hear me. And I know he can hear me. And it's not stopping. So finally, it's halfway through the third quarter, and Pitt breaks a run down the sideline for about 30 yards and a first down. He throws a flag. And they call a chop block. Play comes back. I think they ended up kicking a field goal. And they go to a TV timeout, and he has to come back down to his position for the kickoff. And he's standing at the pylon, TV timeout, and he has his arms crossed, and he is staring at me in my seat until I turn and look at him. And I finally turn and look, and he gives the chop block signal and holds his arms out like, "Well, happy now?" And I said, "Scott, Steve, whatever your name is, that you are the best official on this crew by far. Thank you very much," and bowed to him. That's one of my finer moments. That's one of my finer moments, and and I think it's fitting that moment happened in my favorite game that's ever happened at that stadium. And I've been there for some. I was there for the '93 Miami game, the '88 Syracuse game. That was as good as I have ever done at a game, harassing people. And I think if I go back and watch some of these games, I'll remember some of the lunatic stuff that I've done.
But, so you didn't get the basketball game that year?
No, I didn't need the basketball game. And you know why? Because Cam Thurman lost it for us, yeah, Jake.
He didn't lose that one. We killed him that night. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Villanova game.
Cam Thurman lost.
I was at the Pitt game. I was at the Pitt game the year that we started throwing all the stuff on the floor.
Well, okay, so the game after the first time Pitt comes back to Morgantown.
By the way, whenever you say on here, and I just said it, I'm bleeping it.
Okay.
It makes me sick.
Well, they bring a pocket of students, and their pocket of students comes over holding their little signs in front of our students. And I'm in that group, and it's kind of like Concord, Lexington. I mean, you're just waiting for somebody to fire the first shot.
Sure.
Well, from the top of the student section comes a Julia's pepperoni roll.
Oh, God.
Unwrapped, half-eaten, perfect spiral. Drills this Pitt kid in the head.
Of course it does.
And he starts looking for security. Well, once the first pepperoni roll comes down and drills this kid, like 30 more pepperoni rolls come down.
Peer pressure.
It's like, well, he threw one. We might as well throw one. So the security guards come over and threaten to throw the pit students.
Well, of course.
You guys are not where you're supposed to be, and kick them back over there as
Sure.
there's ice and everything else is being pelted at them. It was great.
There was one more. Oh, I'll tell you one that we have forgotten. I'll tell you one right now we've forgotten. That last game against Pitt. The game ends, we sack them 3 times to end it, everyone's celebrating, and then you have me and you running through the
Telling them
pit, cheering
to get out of our stadium.
get out of our and herding them like cattle. Get out! You're not moving. Get out! Over and over, swatting at them, telling them to get out. And there was, I swear to you, and you know I'm not kidding, there was legitimate fear in the eyes of some of these people. Oh my God. These crazy Mountaineer fans that we always heard about, I think we found them.
I bet they live in the woods.
They all have a limp and they drink nothing but moonshine. Nope, I'm as sober as they come.
Shoot them guns.
We've had a few of those.
I was not.
But that was fun. That was fun. And we've had so many of those games over the years. And believe me, I'll think of more of our idiot stories from 103 whenever we do this again. Jake, did you enjoy this?
It was a good time. It was a good time.
Well, good, because you're going to come back. You're going to come back whenever you want. Next time, Steve's not going to have work issues. It's going to keep him away, and we don't have to piece the episode together. But yeah, next time when all 3 of us are here, maybe bring Dave in too. It's going to be a lot of fun.
He'll answer his phone.
He's not going to answer his phone. Why would he do that? He knew exactly what that was, and I'm going to call him out for it right now. You're a coward, Dave Markert. You're a coward. You're more of a coward about answering your phone than Mike Davis is about running. Okay?
And he ain't running.
Yeah, and he ain't running. And he's more likely to run than you are to answer your phone. We've got more show coming up. Steve's going to join us for the next segment, but we're going to record that a little bit later, piece them together. Should be fun. Jake, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of fun. More of episode 13 of Apex Live right after this.
Yay.
Episode 13 of Apex Live continues. I'm Brad. Hey, that's Steve. Steve's back.
Hello.
Steve wasn't here for the first part of the show. He got stuck in, what was it, White Sulphur Springs for work?
Yeah. It's always work. It's always somewhere in... Every time it becomes a shit day, it usually ends up in Greenbrier County. I don't understand that, but it happens.
I don't know if that's going to mean much to our listeners in Canada and New Zealand.
Like, where the fuck is that?
For reference, it's about an hour and 10 minutes from where we are, and there's a world-famous resort.
Oh, yeah.
That's there, and there's a nice little downtown area, which, by the way, has an amazing...
Food and Friends.
Jamaican. That's in Lewisburg.
Oh, okay.
But in White Sulphur, there's an old small diner car that does Jamaican food, and it's called Wagwan Diner, and it's legitimate. I think it's 2 brothers that are Jamaican. I think it's their dad works as a chef at the Greenbrier.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But they run this thing. I've been there. The food is authentic. It is absolutely amazing. And that's part of that downtown area that's really cool. The rest of the place just flat out sucks.
Yeah.
And if you go to Lewisburg, great downtown, a lot of really cool stuff. But I'm not a doctor or a lawyer or a finance guy or a hipster. So if I'm not one of those 4, I'm pretty well done.
Yeah.
You know, that is either Elite Central or it's Man Bun Central. And we all know that a man bun is just a handle for your life partner. Never mind. I'm not going to keep going with that.
Oh, man.
That's terrible. That's terrible imagery. So, Steve, what's been going on? You've got a lot to catch up on because...
Speaking of bleep.
It's been 7 weeks, 8 weeks.
Since we last recorded. And a lot has happened. It went by so fast, and I have no idea where the 7 weeks have went.
There's a lot less of me than there was when we recorded on July 2nd.
That is true.
Yeah, I was 215 to 191, but hey, that'll happen. You lose a lot of fluid when you get stabbed in the back. Anyway, go on.
That's right.
What have you had going on in the last little bit?
Same thing with you. I've just a little bit of weight change, and that's about it. Work, and the rest of it, I have no idea where the hell it's went. Once again.
Well, it's the same old crap. And how many times have you said it? It's... you turn into a slave and you just work your life away and work your soul away and everything dies and it just sucks, and that's just not...
The contemplation is getting more and more every day. I'm just like half a step away from calling fucking boss a yes man and tell him to suck a dick. Like, seriously. Like, show up to the last meeting I'm going to go to, which will probably be on the 20th of August, with a bag of fucking cheeseburgers, and do the what is that, half-baked scene where he quits his job there. He starts throwing cheeseburger at everybody's head there. He's like, you're cool, fuck you, you're cool. Hits one guy in the head with a cheeseburger, and I'm out.
Sure.
I'm probably going to do that. And I know exactly who's getting hit in the face with a fucking cheeseburger.
Okay, who's getting hit in the face with a cheeseburger?
His name is Steven Ritchie, and he's a dickhead, dude. He's one of those guys, he will talk shit about you behind your back, and he will not quit doing that. And he's a bigger guy, bigger than me, but he doesn't realize that I'll beat the shit out of him. I don't think he gets it yet.
Right.
So,
you can melt about anybody with a liver punch.
Dude, he's not a very necessarily healthy guy. He takes a lot of medication, quite a bit.
Well, then the liver's probably already shot.
Yeah, I would love to crumble him with a fucking liver shot and just ask him if he needs water or something else.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
It would be. But yeah, he's a dickhole. But yeah, other than that,
just same old crap.
Same old shit. Getting down and weight a little bit. Different mindset.
Well, we told a story. I think we recorded this. We did record this. Jake was talking about an experience at a West Virginia basketball game that involved members of the pit cheering section getting pelted with literally dozens of pepperoni rolls because there was one.
Pepperoni rolls are great.
One got thrown and it hit somebody right in the face, and they turned around and were outraged. And
why? Those are fucking delicious. That's a gift.
Well, but what have we learned? You don't acknowledge it. If you acknowledge it, it's going to get worse. And here comes dozens more of them, and rightly so, because if you see pit people, that's what you do, is you hit them, and you hit them as hard as you can.
If they're not eating shit, you just throw at them.
I hate these people. But I also don't want you to waste a perfectly good pepperoni roll, because those are good. The ones they sell at the games are good.
They're good.
Okay, so we talked about that. We talked about some other stories from 103. And all the antics that we've gotten into at games. One thing that didn't get told, I don't think Jake knows about this story. There was a game probably, looking back, it's probably 10 years ago whenever this happened. For some reason, a Pitt fan or a Pitt student was invited to the game by a West Virginia student, which that already...
Were they friends or they enemies?
Well, considering how it turned out, they might have been enemies, but I guess he was invited as a friend, and this guy's liquored up, and he goes and gets up into the student section and just looks at the student section and double barrels them and starts yelling. And I was told by my friend who was involved with this, he said the next thing that you saw was just a pile and him at the bottom of it. And it took a while, but they eventually had to drag him out.
Hey, that takes balls.
It takes either balls or a complete lack of a brain.
Both. Big balls equals small brain.
It just makes me laugh so hard to see that.
No blood that goes to the brain when it's all in your balls.
We just see people doing that. We tried to ambush Dave earlier in the show. Dave wouldn't answer the phone because he's a coward.
Oh, he didn't answer.
Didn't answer the phone. Yeah.
He must have been bleaching his hair.
He probably was. Well, we all know.
Still love you, Dave.
Dave has at all times available to him a giant vat of peroxide. At all times. Because he's trying to turn himself into some weird
Super Saiyan,
some weird anime character that I know nothing about, and I have no reason whatsoever to even look into it because it's really just not a big deal to me. So that's what he's doing. We all know that's what he's doing it. But whatever, Dave. Whatever we say about you, it's your own fault for not answering the phone. So from now on, it's just better to answer the phone and defend yourself. That's what we're trying to say.
But we still love you, though.
Well, that's debatable.
I love you. I still want to punch you in the face. We'll have to definitely still get this together eventually if you ever come back for a long time.
Well, all he's got to do is come back and actually spar and not oversleep. And we are calling you out for that because people did show up.
Traveling does suck. I do understand, but...
Traveling does suck, yeah.
And I was in Gatlinburg being fucking tortured by my children.
So. All right. Tell me about Gatlinburg.
Oh, okay. So,
first of all, why did you go to Gatlinburg, the tourist trap of the universe?
Oh, it's hillbilly heaven. I'm telling you, it's like, I don't know. It's where white people go. Tennessee is where white people go, I guess. I don't know. But so my girl now, she's like, "Oh, let's take the kids to Splash Country." I was like, "Cool, fuck it, we'll go to Splash Country." We go there, not so bad. They were okay. You know, it's so expensive there, it's ridiculous. But it was all Stephanie's idea, which I could deal with it until about the second day, and then I was like, "I hate all of you." And that's pretty much how it happened. But yeah, the last day we were there, we went to Ripley's Believe It or Not Aquarium. Pretty cool. We checked everything out there, but just the sheer foot traffic there is fucking ridiculous. I mean, you can't even move. It's just stupid. Went to a haunted house, took my 8-year-old in there. They asked me if I was sure. I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure. He's been an asshole all day. I want to scare him." So are you serious? I was like, "Yeah, I'm serious. He's been a jerk all day." So we get in there and go through it all. This was actually a pretty good one. It's a haunted mansion. People were sliding down from like the 3rd story down the walls, running behind you, screaming at you. He wanted to leave. There was an exit every 50, 60 foot. I wouldn't let him go. I just wanted him to really be scared.
I just knew whenever you said, "I'm going to Gatlinburg."
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to get this picture in my head of how frustrated with all of the BS that you were going to be.
I fucking hate tourists.
Gatlinburg.
I hate tourists. Even when I go to a place, I try not to be a tourist.
Well, yeah, because there is a tourist mentality of...
This isn't where I live. I'm going to be an asshole.
Just standard behavior. Because they want to have that attitude, no matter what happens, no matter how wrong they are, no matter what they do. They want to look at anyone and go, "Hey, I'm on vacation."
Yeah, fuck you and your vacation.
Like that's somehow going to make everything better.
Go eat what you eat in quantities bigger somewhere else, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah, well,
you're looking for a bigger chicken leg.
For some of these people, that's very difficult to do because they should all be sponsored by Golden Corral.
And that's exactly what is Golden Dixie Stampede. We can get mashed potatoes.
But now, let me, in full disclosure, say this. I do like Golden Corral.
It's not bad.
Now, when I'm actually eating, which... for 9 days in this month, that didn't happen.
Ultra Slim Fast Plan.
Was that this month? No, that was 2 months ago.
Mental anguish.
That was June when I didn't eat for 9 days. But when I can actually eat and my digestive system is functioning at some level that's reasonable, yeah, I like to go in and say, "Wait a minute, I can pay $12 and this food is actually decent and I can have all I want." Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay, but at the same time, I understand that it's not gourmet. This is what I know about this, about how bad this is. Okay? How can I put this into words that are not going to be hideously offensive?
Hey, just be offensive. It doesn't. They're not fucking listening.
But I have to go with imagery here. Okay, this is how I'll put this into words. Golden Corral has been in our town for less than a year.
I would say 8 months.
I think it opened in November or December.
Really? Okay.
Something
so
like
about
that.
10 months.
So, well, no, it is about 8 or 9 months. Okay. Something like that. Okay. Simple as that. I understand that there's this desire and this innate thing in people that drives them to a new... You can have 11 McDonald's in one town. And if a new McDonald's opens, everyone runs to it. And to this day, I cannot figure out the mentality behind that.
It's the fucking... the Legion mentality is what it is.
It's new! No, it's the same as every McDonald's on planet Earth. That's why it's called a franchise.
They have rules they go by.
Now, we didn't have a Golden Corral.
Which is understandable because Ryan's completely sucked ass.
Ryan's was terrible.
Their breakfast tastes like shit to me. I didn't like it. Shoney's breakfast was awesome to me. I liked it.
Their breakfast was garbage, and their lunch and dinner was garbage too. So we opened the Golden Corral. Not we. I didn't have anything to do with it. But the Golden Corral opens, and of course, for the first month, you can't get a seat.
No.
Now we all knew that was going to be the case. Do you know how morbidly obese, how formidable your size and your appetite has to be if you make reservations for Golden Corral?
Oh.
And it's a party of 2, not like 10 at one table.
It's all you can eat. Now you eat all. You can't do that.
You know it's bad when you get thrown out of an all-you-can-eat. And they say, no, seriously, that's all you can eat. We're losing money.
You can eat that.
So all that goes down. And you're thinking, okay, after a couple months, it'll be okay. No, it's still that way.
It's still that way.
And I understand that at 7 o'clock at night. But it's 12:30 in the afternoon, or it's 1 o'clock, or it's 2 o'clock. do any of you work? Yeah. Because it's 2:30 in the afternoon, you still can't get into Golden Corral and get a seat.
Golden Corral.
And then they wonder why we have the biggest health epidemic in the country when those things are... Are you kidding me? It's 2:30 in the afternoon and you can't get a seat at Golden Corral. That explains more than anything else could possibly explain. And it's worse to me, even, than when Jamie Oliver, the British chef, had the TV show where I'm going to go to the unhealthiest city in the country and go to Huntington and I'm going to teach the kids how to eat healthy food. And they were so brutal to him after one episode, he was in tears. That makes me laugh. I didn't watch it. I just saw the highlights of him getting just obliterated verbally and he leaves. Oh, it's just gold.
Jamie Oliver.
It's just old. My phone's blowing up. My best friend's texting, and I'm totally cool with it. Now, if it's 99% of the other people I know, I would just take the phone and rocket it across the room because I've had enough of most people that I know right now. And it's nothing that most of them have done. It's something that some of them have done, but it's not anything that most of them have done. But sometimes you just kind of have to crawl in a hole and say, if you're not on my advisory council, that very small inner circle, it's not that I'm being antisocial. I literally just don't want anything to do with any of you.
Oh, I understand.
You know,
trust me.
And what's funny about it, Steve, is that as this has happened in the last 7 or 8 weeks, and I have really kind of just gone down, and whittled down my interaction and dealing with certain things with certain people, and really taken a big step away from a lot of social media stuff, because social media ruins lives.
Of course,
in the modern era, social media ruins lives.
If you're not born into that, if you've lived a life, a vast majority of your life without that interaction, and then you interject that, as a 30-plus-year-old,
that's a great point.
It's going to fuck you up.
That's a great point. Yeah. If you know a life that doesn't involve that, it's disaster whenever you introduce it. It's like introducing something into the wild that doesn't belong there, and it's a predator, because really that's what it is.
Well, it's addictive.
It is. I mean, it's every like, every retweet, all that stuff. It's a dopamine hit. It's addictive.
Constantly.
Well, as I've gotten away from that, it's amazing how much I have started to look at it even more so and think, I prefer it this way. I literally do not miss it. And where there was a time that I'd say, I just need a break from this, so I'm going to deactivate this account or that account for a week, and then I'll come back, or 2 weeks and I'll come back. I don't care if I do go back, and that's a good place to be. That's a healthy,
because you know everybody that you care to know.
Yeah, and not only that, it's nice to have a little bit more control over being instantly accessible. There are people out there that I'm not even all that terribly close to, but they're used to sending something and I'm getting right back to them. And if 5 minutes goes by, are you okay? They think I'm dead if I don't get back to them immediately. No, I was just doing something that does not directly involve the computer or you.
Yeah.
And that whole mentality that really bothers me. So social media sucks.
Yeah.
It just pretty much blows, and I've had it. Speaking of, I need some better news. I need better news. So here's the better news. We talked on an earlier podcast episode about, I've got another book in the works, and I might be doing a sequel to the novel, and then I've got something else that I'm going to do. Well, as it turns out, I have made a decision on the next book and what it's going to be, and I'm not going to really get into what the book is about. The title is going to be Enigma, which is pretty cool. And it is going to exist, I think, in the same universe as the first novel did. I really haven't made that decision yet.
Okay.
So I am going to write that one. There was a point that I had this idea for a character. I had the idea for a couple of plot points within the story, but I didn't know how I was going to get from A to B. And then it's funny how life events can kind of put you in a position where you can make some decisions and maybe see a pathway that you didn't see before. It's amazing how lights will just sort of turn on in situations that way through what happens to you in real life, and it can translate into fiction if you're a writer. And that's what's happened here. So now I've got an idea of how to make this work, and I am really, really, really excited about this project. So it's going to be out, I think, at some point in 2019. Early in the year, I'm shooting for I don't know, March, April, May area, somewhere in there, to make this work. It helps whenever I don't have to deal with a big publishing house. Believe me, it'd be great to have a 7 or 8 figure deal behind you and all the marketing and all that stuff, but I'm really not interested in that. That's not what this is about. Mm-hmm. It never was. And being able to do most of it myself, I've already kind of designed most of the cover, and then I can just focus on the writing part of it. It is kind of stupid to announce that, okay, it's coming out first few months of 2019, and it's the end of July right now, and I've written, as of right now, like 3 pages.
But in some aspects, you got to think about this too. People that are ultra successful in some aspects, did they ever really want to appeal to that many people, that many mentalities of like-mindedness? I mean, is that really...
Well, most of the people that we call geniuses, most of the people who have had a great deal of influence on the world, whether they were out front, in front of a ton of people or not, they really didn't seek out that mass market appeal. Mm-hmm. That really wasn't their thing. Believe me, I would like nothing more than to sell 3 million copies.
That would be awesome.
Of that. That would be fantastic, because
But that doesn't define your success.
Not at all. And I've told people for years, and this is in a lot of different ways. I've said it about working in boxing. I've said it about just everyday life and interacting with people, that success has nothing to do with things. Success has nothing to do with making money and having possessions and going on trips. If you want to show me someone that is successful, show me someone that has impacted a great number of lives to the direct knowledge of a few.
Yeah.
Show me that. Mm-hmm. Show me someone who has changed lives for the better. And it's not for me to say that I have done that in my everyday life, because if I'm the one saying that I have, I probably haven't, because I've somehow made it all about me.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would like to think that I have. But there will always be that part of me that doubts it and says, well, maybe you haven't. That's also something that can drive you to keep trying to do more and have an impact, because for me, everything that you see, everything that you do, everything that you buy and sell and consume, and even the things that you produce that other people buy and sell and consume, all of those things they're going to go away. They're going to rot. They're going to die.
Easy.
The things that live on forever, the influences that you have, those are the things. There's a difference for me. This is the best way I've ever put it. I might put this in the book. There is a big difference between an inheritance and a legacy.
Yeah.
And I am way more concerned with having a legacy that lives on. And this is the best example that I can give you. One of the most well-known evangelists of the 20th century, and this is from the early 20th century, I believe it's from Chicago, was a man named D.L. Moody. And Moody was really, as a theologian, was brilliant. And he's the namesake of the Moody Bible Institute. He reached literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people with the gospel. So many people came to Christ because of him and his work, and it's just amazing. Well, everybody knows that name. The name that no one remembers is the name of the person who first invited him to church, the shopkeeper that he worked for. Mm-hmm. That may be the only person he ever had an influence on from a spiritual standpoint.
And then it affected so many more people.
But look at what happened in that chain
butterfly
reaction.
effect.
That's yeah, absolutely. It's ripples on a pond. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do. And I wrote the first novel, and people really, really enjoyed the first novel. And then when I did the re-release, I said, it's the same book, it's the same characters, everything, but this is such a better product this time, because I've made some changes. I've put some more information in it. The writing is a lot tighter. It's a lot better, a lot cleaner. And it's a 10 times better book, and people really responded to the novel the second time. And then I wrote the study book on eschatology, and it's nonfiction, and it's deep, and it doesn't read like a textbook, but it's got the information that's in it like a textbook. And that's had an influence on a lot of people, which is great. And now I'm going to write this one. For all I know, the words that I'm putting on a page is going to have a big impact on somebody, and I will literally never know it.
You're that guy, you're the shopkeeper.
But exactly. Yeah. But the fact that it's there, the fact that it matters, that's what I want. And that's the kind of influence I want to have really in everything. That's a loud chair. In everything that I ever do, I want to have that kind of an impact, because that's what lives on forever. Mm-hmm. And I think what is the environment that's conducive to that is when half of it is you saying, I want to be that. I want to invite that into my life. I want to project that to others. The second part of that, I think, is most important, because that's when you surround yourself with the like-minded people who want to do that too. Mm-hmm. If you're around nothing but a bunch of money-driven, ego-driven, oh, well, I've got to go do this. Look at the money they offered me. So what? How much they offered you? Yeah, or they offer you the pay bump, they offer you the benefits, and they're basically inviting you to destroy things for no good reason. A lot of times when you chase things like that, it does backfire. And here's the funny thing about that. It doesn't even have to be an opportunity that you do that with. It can just be that mentality. You can stay in a same position for 20 years.
That mentality.
But if you have that mentality going into it, you may move up, you may not. But it's going to affect everything you do, every decision you make.
And the quality of everything.
When you do that, you're inviting problems into not just that part of your life, but into every other part of your life, because it shows motivation. And most of the time, it's trying to fill a void that you will never fill with those types of things, the temporal things, the things that don't make any sense to have them at the top of your priority list.
Material possessions.
Well, yeah. And it's that's the big part of it for me.
Status.
Look at look at what I've got. They don't have that. Be jealous of me. It's pride, it's arrogance, it's greed. I remember this is somebody I knew a long time. This is 15 years ago probably now. Maybe not 15 years ago when it happened, maybe 10 years ago when this happened, but it just stood out to me then, and it's more of a salient point to me now than it was then. This person had something kind of rough happen to him. It wasn't a death. It wasn't a sudden just relationship failure, but it was some things that sort of went bad, and they were down about it. And they told one of their friends that they were down about this specific thing. And the response from the other friend, who was very well off and had grown up around money, said, "You know what you need to do? You need to go get you a new car."
That actually just I had a thought about that. I know somebody just did that, actually.
But you hear that as, okay, so now you're driving toward the lawyer's office in a better car? What did you just accomplish other than a dopamine hit for buying something expensive and then saddling yourself with about $35,000 of debt?
Yeah.
And paying a bank interest for, I don't know, 2 weeks of fleeting happiness before the new car smell has all gone out of the vents.
That's a shit answer. That's an old answer. That's an answer that was given to them before.
Absolutely. Or it's one that they, in their greed and their arrogance, presented to the person who, gives them the money.
Yeah.
And they signed off on it. Okay, well, if that's what'll make you feel better, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
Did it work? No, probably not. It probably just dug the hole even deeper.
See, I've heard that before. I mean, it's
idiotic.
Socialite type behavior, upper crust type. Hey, you're feeling down? Just go get your new car. I mean, I've heard it before, but
look at how we fed that. We have fed that with the MTV culture post 2000s.
It's all social engineering horse shit. It's all bad.
That's a good point.
I mean, that's still the aspect we're thinking about every day is social engineering. I can't fucking deal with it.
People don't...
One generation away from everything being completely different.
People don't believe that it's real.
It is real.
People do not believe that is a legitimate thing.
Edward Bernays and all, smoking and women's empowerment and all that bullshit. Check some of that out.
I want to choke people.
I don't know if I even would want to bother, because they would just see it as a physical thing, nothing to do with why you're choking them. They're like, why are they choking me? Because you're a fucking idiot. That's why you're getting choked.
Oh my gosh. I've got to answer this.
Oh, go ahead. Do what you need to do, sir. I'm over here making Red Skull do the twist.
What's Red Skull?
Right here. Red Skull. Captain America.
You've got the thing and you're playing around with it. Oh my lord!
That's I did. My phone was setting over there. I was actually just fucking around with Red Skull on this little coaster, chilling. There's some splash country photos of my little jerk offs. Jerkovskis is what I call them. Little Jerkovskis. They look like they're having fun, but really they're just evil.
Oh my gosh! One thing I am happy about is I think we're on the verge of purchasing what we need to work on having a portable podcast studio, because that's going to allow us to go out and record in pretty high quality anywhere we want to, as much as we want to, with really anyone that's around, and we can just tell them, hey, sit down and do this, and then I can come back and edit everything and post. Something smells like it's on fire. Is something on fire outside of my house? Like, something smells like it's on fire.
I don't know.
Or cares.
Might be my life. I don't know.
Really? After the last 7 weeks of my life, you're going to sit here and tell me that? How dare you, sir?
How dare you?
And what's funny is, looking back at what I've been able to kind of piece together like a jigsaw puzzle. I've pieced it together like a jigsaw puzzle. Apparently, it was going on for like 3 weeks before that, and I didn't even know it was on fire yet, so I really should have had better batteries in the smoke detector.
You were smoldering.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to put it. I don't know. Right now, I'm not. Right now, I'm in total DGAF mode, and I'm just going to worry about writing books and going to Little Beaver State Park and hiking, because, man, is that...
Not bad. Not bad at all.
2 people drove me to make the decision to do that and start getting outside to do that, especially at that place, and you were one of them, sir.
Dude, I ran there. I ran up Rhododendron the other day.
I'm not doing that.
1.5 up the hill, and I did 3 laps around the park, and my knees were killing me.
See, that's why I'm not going to do it. But
it was still beautiful.
You encouraged me to do that, and Wonder Woman also was encouraging me to go out and hike and do all these things. And it does. It's cleared my head. It's gotten me in better shape. I'm getting back in the gym. I'm hitting the bags. I was doing punch mitts. I went to Elk River Boxing Club last week. Was it last week?
Rob Fletcher up there?
Yeah, that's Rob. Rob was there. Laura was there. Everyone else bailed and didn't show up. So I got in the ring because Laura wasn't there yet, and I knew she'd have the phone out trying to take video of this crap. And I said, this is my second day back to doing this in 15 years, so I'm not going to allow that. So I got in there, and I was just kind of throwing a little bit. And I'll tell you, I'm still rusty. There's a lot of stuff that I still feel stiff, and I'm not relaxing.
Well, how long has it been since you really actually had that mentality in you?
Oh, I mean, I've not done anything athletically in probably 12 or 13 years because I'm just so beat up.
Especially throwing punches and just automatically bringing them back where they need to go.
And man, I was trying to kill the mitt.
Oh, sure.
And I landed a couple of them, and I thought, I want to see if I can still crack a little bit with some snap. And I landed 2 or 3 hooks, and he kind of looked at the mitt like,
you did that?
Where did that come from? The bad thing is, the first time that I did mitts in a long time was with Patrick at Apex a couple weeks ago, and I'm still in that trainer mentality. Yeah. So every time he would hold the mitt up, I would hold my glove up because I'm expecting him to throw. So it took me a couple of rounds to kind of get myself into that mentality. Okay, I'm the one who's throwing the punches. I'm the one who's doing this. And then my favorite part of this is he's
an awesome dude.
He's coaching me. And he's like, come on, get that jab out there and snap it. And he's telling me stuff. And at one point, I just stopped. I said, Pat, you realize you are directly quoting me to me. You're telling me exactly what I tell you all the time. So, yeah, that's what I've been dealing with.
Pat's a good dude.
Pat is a good dude.
I've never seen him do anything less.
You know who that's what we need to do is get him in here and recount for an audience.
Get him to talk.
His story from top to bottom, from just showing up to do a boxing class because it might be fun, and he had a free membership because of where he works at the car dealership, and going from that to fighting in USA Boxing.
Where's he work at? Which one? Did he quit that job since? Or?
He works at the one that's over across the road from the Hyundai dealership.
So he makes pretty good money then.
He's
ASC certified.
He's not in sales. He just kind of did the maintenance stuff, like the oil changes and those things. But he was wanting to get a new job.
Yeah,
we're totally airing Patrick's business on the podcast.
We love that. We love Patrick.
Well, he's not going to do anything. So plus it's good news. It's really good news.
Not that he couldn't.
He was with that left hook. Are you kidding me? I've seen him knock heavyweights cold. So he decided that he wanted to go after another job, I think in the parts department, because he could be off of work at 3 every day. He could be home.
And train and all that.
Well, he could also be home and get the kids off the bus so he wouldn't have to rely on other people as much. Yeah. And found out a couple weeks ago he got the job.
Oh, good for him.
So he starts in August.
Awesome. Gets
to do everything that he wanted to do, and I'm so happy for him. The problem is I've still got to convince him, okay, this means you can be at the gym more than one day every 14. So you need to get yourself back to the gym. Because his wife, he gets to a point sometimes like, you need to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Just go to the gym. Well, don't wait for her permission here, Pat. Get in the gym, hit stuff. I'm going to need you to, hold the mitts for me, and eventually I'm going to have to figure out how to get away from his big left hook. Of course, he shouldn't be able to deal with my jab, I don't think. At 5'7", you can slip it and come in and about kill me. So I'm not sparring you. I'm not an idiot.
Nah, we'll wait until after your surgeries and stuff like that. We'll get in and work.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I've got 2 surgeries coming up in August. Though that'll be fun. Someone who's paranoid about getting put under in anesthetics.
But it feels so good when you wake up, and it feels so good when you're. Oh man, I've had 3 surgeries.
See, I've never done this.
But the only thing they didn't tell me that they were going to intubate me, and I woke up and I was like, man, it feels like I've been deep throating some cock here. You know what I mean? And they were like, yeah, we put a tube down your throat about 12 inches long. I was like, that's real fucking good. I know I can deep throat. It doesn't bother me. So.
Okay, when you started that, I mean, I've known you for how long, and we've done how many of these shows. I should have known where that was headed. But I thought you were going to say, I woke up and my throat was sore, and I didn't know what happened. No, you went straight for the oral sex.
Oh, that's the only thing I could think of. I mean, it wasn't a small one. 12 to 15 inches down your throat, and you don't even flinch, and you have no idea why your throat hurts. That's bad. That's roofie shit right there. That's bad. That's Cosby time right there. I got Cosby'd.
Okay, so I'm talking to my best friend the other night, and she says that she had, I think, some apple pie and
moonshine.
Apple pie and raspberry flavored moonshine.
The apple pie is really good.
And I said, that's obviously of no use to me, but I wonder if anybody ever cooks with that. I wonder if you could make some like raspberry preserves and put that in there, and it's just got an extra little kick.
I'm sure you could.
And so she comes back. She's very quick-witted.
My kids are fucked up.
She comes back with this. Oh, good God, Steve. She comes back with this statement that will never leave my head. Date rape dessert. How do you even put those 3 words together? Date rape dessert.
That is definitely, that's kind of out there.
So I made it worse.
That sounds like a cool band name.
Doesn't it?
Date rape dessert.
Okay, so I made it worse, and I said, there's only one place you can find the recipe for date rape dessert, and that's in the Bill Cosby cookbook.
It's in a Jell-O pudding pop.
All right, one thing we do have to do here is we're going to take one more break, and then we're going to come back.
Always hemorrhoid.
With our top 5 list for the episode. This is a top 5 list that we had talked about doing before, and I avoided doing it because, sometimes you just don't want to offend sensibilities of people who may be listening.
Fuck them.
But I don't have to worry about that anymore. So we're going to give you our top 5 list of our top 5 desert island women. And this can be current.
My shit changes, so I have to look back.
It can be current, or it can be all time. It could be like, it could be
in their prime.
This person in their prime in 1996. Or it could be, as they are now. I think I'm going to go as they are now. I think you have decided to go in a slightly different direction.
You sent that.
Did I send that?
Dude.
I did send that.
I knew I wasn't fucking retarded.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, I'm still might be.
Okay, fair point. But no, that's pretty cool. So we're going to do that list. We're going to get Jake's and have him record it and present it on the next episode.
Okay.
I think so. We're going to do that. But we'll come back with our top 5 desert island women list, and we'll come back and close the show with a final statement that's very important right after this. Final segment of episode 13. This has been a very, very long and a very diverse episode. Rejoin music Cielo by Huma Huma. Just like our intro and outro music, copyright free so we don't get sued. Steve doing his white man chair dance with a hint of, I don't know, East Asia.
Yeah, it definitely has like a snake charming shit.
Very much so. That's what I was thinking. It's a shame we don't have a little video running at the time. Steve, you were saying something's bothering you. What's bothering you?
Okay, so I guess the FDA is starting to decide that almond milk is not considered milk.
Right.
Because,
because it's not?
Because it's not. But it is whatever. I still it has the consistency of milk, but I have actually paid attention to a couple other articles about this. the farmers or whatever, or whoever has been subsidized to sell their shit product to human beings that are filled with cancerous fucking material and pus-filled, lactating, unhappy cow tits. They don't want their profit margins cut into anymore, so they think that everything can be reclassified because they don't fucking like it. Well, once again, I don't give a fuck about the FDA, and if I want to call anything milk, I will. They should call it milch.
But that's the way of the government, isn't it?
Milch. That's what my kids call milk anyway.
Milch?
Milch.
Okay, when I hear Milch, I think of David Milch, who was the co-creator of NYPD Blue.
Milch. I think it's funny when I get my kids to say things wrong.
Well, of course you do. You think that it's hilarious to teach them things that are wrong,
but
and then you can make fun of them.
I do, but then I'm like, it's really called milk. But actually, with their vocabulary, it's made them kind of creative, so they just make up words all the time, but they know the correct word. But they call each other names all the time that doesn't make any fucking sense. But still, the FDA can go eat a dick because they want to poison everybody with their bullshit food. Because they're in bed
it's not just food, it's the drugs, too. It's the things that they approve.
They're in bed with each other because all the things that everything that you eat drives you to their medication. And that's what it is. Fuck y'all. And if anybody lobbies for them, you can go eat a fucking AIDS-infested dick. I don't care.
Well, it's hard to misconstrue that. Let's look at it for what it is, and it's been this way for a long time. I love capitalism. Socialism's nonsense, communism's evil, all these things.
Everything's
the problem is that you have a lot of these Bernie Sanders loving socialists talking about how evil capitalism is. The problem is what they're basing all of this on is a world that we live in now that does not have capitalism.
Yeah.
Okay? We have not had actual capitalism in years.
Well, it's globalism now.
Well, what we've got in this country, we've reached a place where globalism is the ultimate goal, and it's close to happening, but we live in an era of corporatism, and corporatism is pretty simple. Capitalism says we're going to have a free and an open market. Mm-hmm. Competition is going to drive prices down. Yep. And that is going to make sure that the consumer benefits. Corporatism is what we have now, which is basically large corporations and large entities with lobbyists basically get in bed with the government. They create, and this is the key here.
So they fuck everybody via government.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
They create artificial monopolies. Artificial monopolies drive everything up because you have no competition, and it's the corporations that benefit and the consumer suffers. Perfect example. You cannot go to any region and have more than one cable television provider. You can't have more than one phone provider.
Yep.
Why? Give me a reason why. It's because the corporations lobbied and decided they wanted to have it that way.
And you're not allowed to have monopolies. It's just how it's supposed to be, right?
Well, you don't want to have monopolies for obvious reasons, but how
fucking Walmart for one of them.
But I will give credit to Walmart because at least they built things on their own. They did not allow they did not lobby for the government to create the environment for them to thrive.
But it still destroyed everything else around it.
They did, and
it's an invasive species.
They're a monster. That company is a monster. But they didn't go to the federal government and say, "We need you to pass some laws that say if you are within this region, you can only have Walmart, and over here they can have Target, but we want to have the law passed for this."
Yeah.
They just got so big that they're dominating areas. Whereas you have companies like Comcast and all of these other ones, not only do they keep getting bigger, they're absorbing the other companies that had exclusivity, and eventually you're going to have one or two providers for that.
And they can't stop from being bought out. If you're traded, if another corporation wants to buy that corporation,
absolutely,
then they can do it no matter what.
If you're publicly traded, you can lose control of your own company because a bunch of people have some money. Well, if you want to go on the public market, do it, but you need to stay on your toes all the time.
Because you're not going to have your company.
Well, some
Papa John's, John whatever.
John Schnatter?
Schnitter.
Considering what he said, easy on the pronunciation, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
There's a reason why he's no longer involved with his own corporation.
Hey, that was his opinion, so fuck.
I don't know what he said, and I just know a word that he used.
It had something to do with anthem protests, and he used the N-word.
Oh, well, that was probably not smart in any setting, but certainly not in the current world in which we live. So,
yeah.
Well, there's a reason why Papa John's is having trouble, and it's not the anthem protests. It's the fact that your pizza tastes like a cheese stick with some cardboard and ketchup.
I never have liked Papa John's. I like fucking Little Caesars better.
There's one good pizza at Papa John's, and it used to be one of the specialties, and now you can go through the website and customize one and make it, and it's their chicken bacon ranch.
That my uncle used to get that all the time.
That was a decent pizza, but like just the standard pepperoni, cheese, bacon,
it's
sauce.
Lifeless.
It's bland and it's garbage. Now, I will say this: out of all of the chains, they do have the best garlic butter dipping sauce.
Yeah,
that it's very good.
It's not bad. It's friendly. I can eat that stuff.
Yeah, but when your claim to fame for people who actually know what good food is that you have good garlic butter dipping sauce, I'm just using it to cover the horrible bland flavor that the rest of your product has. Right now, I used to hate Domino's. 10 years ago, hated Domino's
Their
pizza.
quality's gotten better.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
They went in and rebooted everything. They changed all their stores. They changed all their recipes, all of it. And now, a thin crust at Domino's, I'll take that over any of the other chains. Mm-hmm. Pizza Hut's a close second because
Pizza Hut's not bad.
That stuffed crust.
They have a good deal.
That stuffed crust is iconic, man.
It's pretty good stuff.
So good.
I do kind of miss that.
For a while there, Little Caesars had a stuffed crust pizza. And it was not bad.
Little Caesars not bad. I mean, because it's all the same quality. I mean, it's Italian design, so you're getting a lot for whatever your material you're using. They're still making a
and it's also hot and ready.
Yeah, it's hot and ready to go. Hey, you got a bunch of screaming ass kids that won't shut up.
That's true.
Stuff bread in their mouth.
And you know what? There are some people that are unfortunately hot and ready, and that's caused nothing but trouble in the lives of them and many other people. But that's again beside the point.
Such a nasty little hole.
It's just disgusting. With so much power. So much power.
Only the power that you give it.
That's true. Well, let's segue right from that into our Desert Island Desert Island women list and the top 5. Steve, I will let you go first.
Well, let me get back to this, because my mind does change. It just depends what I've eaten that day.
Okay, so you gave me a preliminary list, I think, yesterday.
It's still I'm still keeping that list because I was provocative with that. I was thinking about it.
Okay.
I wasn't just kind of like,
Well, our more astute listeners of the program already know who's number 1 on Steve Randolph's list.
Oh, yeah.
We already know RJ is going to be number 1. But, for those who are new listeners and do not understand that reference, I don't want to spoil it, and we'll just make sure that Steve gives his list.
Well, I have to make sure, because Stephanie is still texting me little nasty pictures of her body.
Is that right?
Not that it's nasty body pictures, it's nasty pictures of her body.
Oh, so it's a nice R-rated material?
Not necessarily R-rated, I'd say. It's more like PG-13.
Really?
She won't send me too many R-rated. She knows I'll show everybody else. I've done it before. She may make a little book of.
Well, you don't have to share them with the audience, Steve. But the co-host, I mean, that's just being a bro.
She wouldn't be able to look at you in the eyes anymore. Trust me,
Steve. After a lot of the things that you've said publicly, she still looks you in the eye.
She has to. I ask her to. I know. I actually tell her to. Where the? I have to make sure I don't mess this up.
Well, no, you need to make sure your list is correct.
It is correct, but I just can't remember where I put it.
I do like the new mic setup. I think it's a cleaner sound.
Your end is nice, man.
It's not as...
Mine sounds good all the time, I think, anyway, but I'm not so picky.
This thing, there's a low-cut filter that you can activate on the mixer, and I'd had it activated for a while, and it gives you a little bit of a more warmer sound, but yeah. I took that out and then made some changes in the EQ, and I think it sounds better now than it
That sounds
before.
Perfect, I think, anyway. But it sounds perfect every time you ask me. So.
I will say this. We do produce a nice quality-sounding podcast, considering we're using the cheapest stuff possible, because we're poor. And we are poor. That really is the problem.
That's true.
Are you still scrolling?
No, I'm looking right at it.
You're looking at the list. Well, then let's have the list.
Okay. First on the list is going to be Rashida Jones, because I don't know. I just always liked her.
Of course, we always knew that Rashida Jones would be.
It just happens, and I forgot all about Quincy Jones. I didn't even know Quincy Jones was her dad at the beginning, so it doesn't even matter. Zoe Deschanel, second
Yeah.
because they actually kind of
See?
they both have quirky personalities. I think I could deal with their personality and the fact that I think they're beautiful at the same time on the island.
For me, when I thought about who might be on your list, I knew that those two would be on it. I had no clue who the other three would be.
Barbara Eden, because she would call me master all the time. That would be at what I consider her prime. Maybe not teenage years, but when she was hanging out with Major Healy, I like the way she acted.
I Dream of Jeannie.
Shakira, because she just doesn't seem like she's getting old, and she can. If I get her at 18 and we're there for like 50 years, she's not going to change.
Well, hips don't lie, Steve.
That's right. Catherine Zeta-Jones, before she was Douglas.
Did you just turn Douglas into a verb?
She was Douglas. And that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And all in their prime.
All in their prime. Well, it's got to be in their prime, otherwise it's just a waste.
Just a waste.
I'm sure Barbara Eden is perfectly nice, but it just wouldn't be much fun now.
I only have one blonde in there.
That's true. That is true.
I like my women a little bit darker on the hair and sometimes a little darker in the skin. That's what's up.
At least we know what you like, and at least you know what you like.
That's right.
I am very diverse in my tastes, very much so, and it comes down to this. It's kind of like the Golden Corral approach, like a little bit of everything.
That's right.
Okay, now there are certain parts of the buffet that I do not
even
care to go to,
yeah.
And it's usually the parts of the buffet that are featuring the ones who frequently go to the buffet.
Yeah, like damn, I'm never going to move to this.
I'm not trying to be mean. And I can, again, here comes the hate now. You're fat shaming. You're doing, eat a dick. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of listening to this constant politically correct BS.
My eyes do not deceive me. You're fat.
You know, it's the same people who complain, oh, men are fat shaming. They're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing this, and then won't go out with a guy because he's 5'10" and not 6 feet tall.
Shaming.
So I don't want to hear a word from any of you about anything. It's okay to have an opinion in this world. If you don't like it, deal with it. And I'll tell you this, if you don't like our opinions, keep listening, because there's going to be more. Just make sure you send us email, and we'll be more than happy to. You can call us and we'll talk about it.
White women are fucking everything up with their opinions because they think everybody else should follow that.
You know what the worst thing that has happened, the biggest cancer on our world in the last 30 years is liberal white guilt.
Yes.
Nothing has ruined our world like liberal white guilt.
Fueled by white women, and they use that power against these little fucking beta male shithead liberals and to get pussy, and then they follow them and they still don't give them the pussy.
Well, it's liberal white women, and it's also these feminized white men.
Well, yeah, the beta males. They're
who do the exact same thing.
Well, they're only doing the exact same thing so they can get laid. But they don't realize how bad they're feminizing themselves to where nobody wants to fuck them.
It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Well, let's face it, they're probably getting pegged.
They're about as hard as a fucking, I don't know, tub of butter. Or, I don't know, fucking pussies.
Well, you have to start reaching deep into the metaphor well when it's almost midnight, and it's been a long day. All right, here's my top 5. My top 5 is pretty simple. Part of it's not going to be very surprising. These are not in any particular order because they're all going to be on the island anyway. So,
are these all okay? So let me ask this:
okay,
were they all supposed to be on the island together, or is that just one? Like, if you had to have just one?
Oh no, they're all on the island.
Man, variety.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm happy with my list.
How awesome is that?
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I had to throw a blonde in. I didn't even realize
so cool.
it. Okay.
So cool.
Should have asked.
All right, here we go. First one on my list, and this is because I was born in the 80s, and I grew up in the 90s. And if this is not at least in contention to be on your list, something is desperately wrong with you, and that is Tiffany Thiessen.
Oh gosh, yeah, okay. Prime Tiffany Thiessen, she has these little areas where she looks kind of weird sometimes.
No, I'll take Tiffany Thiessen now, and here's why. Not only is she still Kelly Kapowski, and is she still gorgeous, but now she has a cooking show too. So now you get the food aspect and you get the Kelly Kapowski aspect too. So you really can't lose.
Yeah, that's true.
And then while you're dealing with the other 4, she's cooking dinner. And I like to cook, so I can help her cook. So you get the entertainment, you get the culinary aspect. You really can't lose. This is why I think about my list like this.
So I might be fucking starving. But then again, I have a genie and I can ask anything I want. So
That's whatever. Oh, so you're not going for Barbara Eden. You're going for Jeannie.
Yeah, that's her prime for me. She's a genie.
Okay, so now what we've got to do, now we've got to come up with a top 5 Desert Island female TV characters list.
Oh, okay.
That would be fun.
I'm still starving then.
I hadn't thought about that as a list. That'll be fun. Number 2, Becky Lynch. Oh, I love Becky Lynch. She is a wrestler in WWE. Yeah. She's Irish. And she's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to listen to a lot of podcasts, wrestling related, and hear a lot of in-depth interviews and a lot of different things. And her personality is just awesome. And she's a really cool chick and not divisive about a lot of issues, which is cool because you don't want to deal with that on a desert island forever.
Fuck no.
So yeah, Becky Lynch is definitely on my list. Plus, the wrestling, she's acrobatic, so you really can't get.
So she's athletic.
That's correct. That. Yeah, good cardio, and that improves mine. Number 3, right. Jackie Byers. She is an actress. She's Canadian. She's an actress on the CBS show Salvation. And Salvation, this is season 2. It's kind of a summer 10, 12 episode season event every year, and this is season 2, and I don't know what it is, but I was watching CBS, and I rarely watch CBS.
Yeah, she's pretty cute, man.
Oh, she's awesome. Well, I was watching CBS for something, and the commercial came on for the first episode of the show, for the pilot episode last year. Yeah, it's her.
Yeah.
And it was a 30-second teaser. And I said, wait a minute, she's going to be on the show? Okay, I'm at least watching the first episode. I don't care if the show sucks. And the premise of the show is pretty cool. It's got a little bit of Armageddon, the movie, and it's got a little bit of Jericho to it. Now that we're into season 2, I'm utterly convinced that they know the writers of the show Jericho. Because it's basically the same thing.
Pretty much the same thing. Hopefully they actually finish the damn thing.
Yeah, Jericho kept going in comic book form for 2 more seasons. And Netflix wanted to revive it, and CBS told them no, they wanted to hold on to the rights. So we're still holding on to hope. But I watched the first episode of the show, and I said, okay, the show's good, and she's on it. I'm watching every episode of this show that they ever produce. And it's still rolling. We're in season 2, but yeah, that girl is outstanding.
Yeah, she's
so
cute.
Jackie Byers is awesome. Number 4... Again, this is one of those that if it's not at least in contention on your list, you're blind. Gal Gadot.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
I had my doubts when they cast her as Wonder Woman. I thought there's no way she's actually going to pull this off because she has no range as an actor. She's horrible. She was in the Fast and the Furious movies. Her role was the same every time. She comes out, takes her clothes off, she's in a bikini,
she's hot.
Waves a flag for them to race or something, and then that was it. She can't even put sentences together because her primary language is Hebrew. I don't know how that fits in with Wonder Woman anyway.
She's a Catherine Zeta-Jones. She's a new version.
But they put her in the movie, and she looks great in the outfit.
Oh, yeah.
And she's actually not bad in that role. She's doing really well as Wonder Woman so far. That's not why she's on the list.
That's exactly why. I'm just playing.
Only if she gets to keep the outfit. And then I've got to wear the Superman suit, whatever. And number 5 is actually another connection to the Superman universe, and it's Erica Durance, who played Lois Lane on Smallville. And I'm a big... As soon as I start bringing these people up and Steve doesn't know who it is, he goes straight to the phone to look them up.
Yeah. Spank Bank, man.
It's Erica Durance, Durance.
So she's also... She looks a lot like your second.
You think so?
Yeah. I think she looks a lot like the second, a little bit more refined.
Oh, you think she looks like Jackie Byers?
Yep.
About 10 years down the road. So you're saying
I think she's cuter than Jackie Byers, personally.
So you think I have a type?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true. I need a different type, apparently. But, so that's my top 5 list. I think that... Here's the issue with this. Jake's top 5 is going to look way different than our top 5.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Well, he's also about 10 years younger than us.
Oh, is he?
Remember that, too.
So he's going to know people we don't even know.
Well, maybe not 10. I need to figure out exactly how old he is.
He knows more. He knows he's in a different area.
Maybe, but he's got good taste. He's a smart dude. So he'll choose wisely. Because believe me, not everybody does. But that's my top 5 list. That's your top 5
That's pretty
list.
strong. I could deal with those ladies. If I didn't have mine, I could hook up with all of them.
That would be... That's why the 5 were picked for the reason they were, is because of the personalities that are going to be involved there.
Yeah.
Because, believe me, the rest of it is, after a year... Yeah, a lot of fun. I'm going to need some conversation on some type of a topic. Give me some education and give me something to discuss.
You're with some strong personality, too, though. You're with, like, some physicality. It seems like they're stronger personality.
Needs to be a good match, not just eye candy.
Mine are a little bit more meek.
Are they?
Yeah.
Rashida Jones does not strike me as meek.
Playful. I mean, but I don't know. In some aspects, like more
some of the
playful.
other ones, like the Barbara Eden pick, yeah, I can see that as being more meek.
Maybe Rashida might be the most strong personality of them all, but it's still more of a playful thing. It's kind of a nerdy kind of thing, you know. I kind of like nerdy girls like that.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
And speaking of Rashida Jones, I'm going to go ahead and look at her now. Just because I haven't done that in a while. And she's not young, and she's still hot.
How old? She's in her 40s.
Yeah, that's
Isn't she?
Yeah, that's what I like about her. She's not young.
Wait a minute. I think that might be another list. We need to do a top 5 40 plus.
Yeah, she's got that nerdy look to her. That's what I like about
we need to do a top 5 30 plus.
She's a nerdy, dirty girl.
At Virginia Tech, they do a top 5 18 plus because the rest their standard lists are all under 18.
Yeah, you can't. They get in trouble for their list.
God, I hate those people. I hate
top 14-year-olds are going to be hot in 6 years.
I hate them all. I hate every single one of them.
Everyone I've even met that actually really, really likes them is fucking weird.
Of course, they're weird.
I would never let them babysit my children.
No, you absolutely do not do that. But those are our lists, and if you want to submit your list, feel free to do so. ApexLivePodcast@gmail.com. Send us your list. We'll read them if you want us to. Some people don't want us to. I understand why, considering how embarrassing some of your selections would be. And let me also...
She was an E.T. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Let me also say this. Don't even bother sending the list if you're going to give us this stereotypical beta male nonsense. All 5 of my picks would be my girlfriend or my wife because that... stop it. You're missing the whole point of the exercise.
The whole point of the exercise is to be a fucking alpha male and choose between which one of the 5 you want to bang that day.
Well, you know what? Dream a little bit.
Have fun.
Dream a little bit.
Yeah, not everything is what you see. Not everything is what you're told it is.
Just knock it off. Just don't be that way.
It's fantasy.
For God's sake.
Enjoy it. Don't be a homo forever.
Don't be a homo. Don't be a homo. Thank you, Steve.
We love it.
Well, one final note. No one in the world has a support system like mine. And in the last 7 or 8 weeks, with all of the things that have happened, generally speaking, the only way that you find out that you have an amazing support system is when things have gone horribly wrong. Those things aren't proven whenever things are going perfectly and everything's nice and smooth. You find out when things go completely berserk and they start to spiral and you just can't do it on your own anymore. And the way that the people around me, the people that are closest to me have responded has just been remarkable, and it's something that I'll never forget and I'll never be able to repay. I'm still on my feet because of all of you
looking better and
that have done this.
Seem stronger than I've seen you in a while, so it's awesome.
They are the reason why, because things got dark, things got difficult, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I was eating punches in the corner. No, I was down. I was on my back. I didn't...
No, you were in the corner sitting on a stool. You're having conversation.
Well, you know what? I didn't hear 10. I kept getting up at 9.
Yeah.
Now I kept getting hit, and I'd get knocked down. I'd keep getting back up, and this isn't a Chumbawamba song. Okay, this isn't tub thumping.
I get knocked down.
Okay, but the mentality was the same. I was not going to stay down. I was getting beat up, and it kept happening. But I'm not going to sit here and be so trite to say, remember, everything happens for a reason. I'm not going to get into these ridiculous cliche platitudes that really don't do anything. All they do is they are self-serving for the people who are throwing them at you.
At that time.
Real concern is not like that. Real concern says, this isn't just you anymore, it's us. We're going to be all right. I'm with you. And having that kind of circle has been amazing. I love each and every one of you. and that's from coast to coast, literally from coast to coast. Every one of you that are in my inner circle, I love all of you, and you know who you are, and that includes Steve, that includes Jake that was here for the first part of the episode. I have an amazing circle, and there's two of you in particular. Wonder Woman and Batman, you know who you are. You've been there every single day since the very first night. I'll never be able to repay you. And to the person in question for all of this, you may be listening, you may never hear it. But no matter what's happened, I love you anyway. It doesn't mean everything's perfect. It doesn't mean that everything will ever be like it was. But I didn't just magically forget all of the history, and I hope that you don't either. And no matter what happens, I'm always a phone call away. And that needs to be said. Because
that's real closure.
You don't.
That's
well,
real closure.
And the thing is, you don't erase history.
No.
And that doesn't mean that you automatically close books and that everything is permanent the way it is now.
But things transcend, they change.
Everything changes. Yeah, I think about the song
Changes.
Not that one. I think about the song Chances by Five for Fighting, and it's just such a perfect line. Nothing lasts forever, no matter how it feels today. You can break a plate and you can glue it back together, and it'll be back together, but it's still got the cracks in it, and it's not the same as it was.
It's not going to be, well...
I'm not going to say that things will ever be like they were over the last 3 years. I'm not going to say that there will ever be restoration, but I'm also not going to say that there's not. I'm going to say this. I'm doing better than I was.
Much better.
And I don't know what in the world is going to happen in the next little while. I know that the battle, for me, is far from over. The situation as it is, whatever. Hands up, backing away. I've got nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with me anymore.
Brad Phoenix is going to come out eventually.
And that's fine. And you know, that's what it really turns into, is the Phoenix rising from the ashes.
Stronger and better than before.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
Definitely. Gives you a better edge, I'm telling you.
I know that I'm not the same person now that I was 2 months ago.
And you will, later on, you will hate that guy. You'll be like, who is that guy? I want to go back in time and beat him to death.
Here's the thing. Maybe I don't need to be the same. Maybe I need to be different.
You do.
Maybe there need to be some changes because there's a story behind every scar.
Mm-hmm.
And I can do that and make the changes and have a better defense next time. Like I said, who knows what's going to happen moving forward.
You'll be stronger no matter what. It is what it is.
But I have a team behind me that is fiercely loyal and caring in ways that I never would have expected. From some people, I never would have expected. From some people, I certainly would. And I'm just so thankful for that. And from this point forward, that really is the key word. That key word is forward.
I like it.
Episode 13 in the books. 14's around the corner. Steve, thank you, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for everything. I'm still here and kicking, even when it seemed like that may not be the case. Till next time, I'm Brad, that's Steve. This has been Apex Live. Good night, America. Wherever you are.